All right, what is going on? Greetings and salutations to everybody out there. My name is JV Wiz. That is Dogon SS. We are back for another edition of the Conscious Approach channel on YouTube. Major shouts out to everybody who's been tuning in with us, subscribing to the channel, hitting that like button, leaving those comments, letting us know what you think about our videos and commentary. We certainly appreciate you joining us along for the ride. If this is your first time checking us out, this is Conscious Approach. This is YouTube. I am JV Wins. That is Dogon SS. And we like to kick tires and light fires as we give our various opinions on a sorted array of topics going on in the world of various areas: sports, pop culture, relationships, entertainment, even economics and politics from time to time.
That's right.
With the aim, obviously, to extrapolate these various stories to talk about the greater societal impact. So it isn't necessarily that we, have a preference for indulging in pop culture, shenanigans. We just like to take these stories to use them as examples for greater ideas that we like to kick around. Before we get into tonight's video, as always, I want to remind everybody out there, if you do not know, you can now find all of our episodes on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So if you're in the gym, in the car, at work, or otherwise occupied and unable to check us out on YouTube, watch any of the videos, you can always check us out there, slide the headphones on, and listen to us audio style. Other than that, as I always say, man, we certainly appreciate everybody who appreciates our brand of logical content. The subscribers continue to grow slowly but surely, and we appreciate that, man, as we continue to build out this community. We have a lot of fun doing this, and Lord willing, we'll continue to do it even when life gets in the way. So with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off, and the first thing that we are going to discuss is some we'll go ahead and get into it and leave everything else up to interpretation. Don't want to skew that we don't want to skew anyone's thoughts on this particular matter before we lay the groundwork and get into the context. So the young lady that you see there before you, if you are not aware, her name is Ayesha Howard. Why are we talking about some woman named Ayesha Howard, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you. The reason why we are talking about Ayesha Howard is because she is a double baby mama to two high-profile individuals in hip-hop and sports. In hip-hop, she is the mother to Lil Baby's child, and in sports, she is the mother to Anthony Edwards' child in the NBA. And so because of her developing track record, people are suggesting that she's a bit of a gold digger, clout chaser. She gets with high profile men and gets pregnant and does what she does, strictly motivated by money. And she's clapping back on individuals who are critiquing her for having such observations. She has a response essentially saying, hey, listen, don't get mad at me. It is not my fault that I am pretty and have a nice body and men with money want me, is essentially what she said. And of course, this clip went viral. People have a lot to say about this. This channel is no exception to that, of course. But it isn't just her overall point of don't hate me because I'm beautiful. It's also the logic. It's also the logic that she attempted to employ in order to stake her claim as to why it is ludicrous that people have anything to say or would dare suggest that she does anything motivated by money. So obviously, before we get into our talking points here, we'll go ahead and let this woman here speak for herself. We would never, pray tell, to speak on behalf of another individual. We prefer to let these individuals speak for themselves, and then we can merely give our thoughts on what it is that they had to say. So don't take our word for it. Here it is the message coming from the horse's mouth itself. So this is Ayesha Howard letting us know that people need to fall back when it comes to accusing her for being financially motivated, given her recent track record.
Right? From then, I
I'm viewed as a certain type of woman because I'm beautiful and I have a nice body. And normally women like that attract a certain caliber of men, which is also not my fault. And now that I am in yet another situation where I now have a child with another successful man, there's no telling you guys that I'm not a gold digger. It's no beating those allegations at all. I read comments that say, oh, you're a gold digger, or you kept the baby for a check. What if I came to y'all's pages, right? And I compared the men that you have children with to the men that I have children with. And I said, you were digging for poverty when you picked him to be your baby daddy, weren't you? Oh, you kept that baby for an extra income tax credit, didn't you? Didn't you? Or you kept that baby for an extra Section 8 voucher. Is that why you kept your baby? Now, if that was triggering, that's how I feel every time somebody says, do you even love that baby? You kept that baby for a check.
Wow.
Okay, so that was what she had to say. Uh, so essentially she is equating her plight to the plight of women who get pregnant by men who aren't rich, I guess, and saying, according to the same logic, I could make the assertion that you did what you did to qualify for Section 8 and an additional income tax credit, and that you have children because you are motivated by poverty, motivated by being broke. Um, it gives me no pleasure in using this as content for this channel, but I nevertheless believe that stuff like this, I nevertheless believe that content like this provides us all with a terrific learning opportunity. So I'll open it up to you, sir. What do you make of her comments? What do you think of what she had to say? Clearly, she believes this. I think that she believes 100% of what she said. What do you make of all that?
Well, when you're dealing with 304s, professional 304s, ladies of the evening, they're going to come up with all kinds of rationale to justify their lifestyle. That's why they live it. They just rationalize everything that they do. And she has a valid point. She brings up that, oh yeah, it's triggering, but no, y'all do it for the same reasons. So yeah, the same women that have these kids for income tax checks, food stamp, Section 8. I've seen it. And I'm pretty sure some of those ladies are in her comment section hollering at, that she's just doing this for the check. Now, the part where she's conflating things, where she was like, oh, y'all saying I don't love my baby because, I'm doing it for the check. No, nobody, I don't think anybody's debating that you love the child. I think it's more or less you had the child for the check. So she wants to throw that in there because that's what gaslighters do. That's what narcissists do. They throw things in the mix to throw you off the scent. And it's like, nah, nobody's coming after you because we don't think you love your baby. We're coming after you because we think that you had this child, you kept this child because of who the person was and how much you can get out of it. Then on the back end, there's a back end reward of, oh, look, I have a child that I love too, But the initial intent was, no, get pregnant by a ball player, get pregnant by a rapper. So now the part about it that I said that did make sense was she's throwing it back at these people. There's a whole life, a whole economy of that going on out here. Women making career moves on just being, career baby mamas, making money off the government, getting housing by the government. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've been in, I've been in some of their houses, bruh. I've been in some of their houses, TV on the floor, mattress on the floor. Rent costs $8. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen it, and there's no incentive. There's no incentive to do no better. Because there's checks coming in and everything's paid for. So, so yeah, I agree. I don't think that makes her any better. Just because she decided to do it by a dude that got a check. I think all in all, you trying to have this child through these types of means, it's on different ends of the spectrum, but it's the same thing. So to me, honestly, all of y'all deserve 1,000 lashes. So, but what are your thoughts on this Ayesha Howard lady around here throwing these ladies under the bus, basically calling them, welfare mamas living in poverty? What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I think my perception based upon her tone with that is she is saying you can't call me out for doing this because you do the same thing in reverse. And to a certain extent, as you suggested, there is some merit to that. However, I also believe she is saying my way is superior because I'm doing it with guys who are rich/wealthy.
Right.
So I'm actually coming out on the better end of this because my guys got it and your guys don't. But otherwise, this to me is disgusting. It displays the mentality, and her trying to assert that how dare anyone suggest that she is a gold digger merely because she's so pretty that only guys with money go after her is ludicrous. That is also implying that men who don't have money don't go after her, which I don't believe. Like I don't believe that because of her looks and her body that it is exclusively a rich men's only club and that rich men are the only men trying to holler at her. Now, she might only be granting access to her body to rich men. That could very well be the case. But this notion that I do what I do because rich men want me, well, I'm pretty sure that there's non-rich men who also want you. You're just being selective with how you go about doing this. Yes. And why would you be selective with how you go about doing this? Because you see the benefit inherent in it.
Yes.
Which is why it is not out of bounds for people to suggest that money is a part of your motivating factor for moving in the way that you move. And it isn't just with her, it's with the rest of these chicks out here who are sex worker adjacents, who aren't sex workers officially or by trade, but certainly live in that same energy and make themselves as human and make themselves essentially for sale.
Yes.
And who carry themselves relationally in a transactional manner, meaning if you can afford this, you are granted access to me. You can try and undergo these mental gymnastics and fool me with your redirects to make it about whether you love the child or not, or to make it about whether other people on the other end of the spectrum do or don't do the same thing. But the fact of the matter is, there is an incentive for you to move in this manner.
Yes.
Which is why you are doing what you're doing. And it is not crazy for people to be like, hey, there may be some monetary incentive motivating you to do what you do. Because like I said, rich guys aren't the only guys hollering at you. There's non-rich guys who are also hollering at you. But you just so happen to coincidentally have the babies from the rich men. And of course, I say that facetiously because I don't believe it's a coincidence. So, I think her pathology is dangerous, but it is very commonplace.
Yes.
And, for all of her self-righteous talk about, the type of men that she gets with and the type of men who are interested in her, that didn't stop her from not being on any sort of contraception. That didn't stop her from enforcing the condom rule. That didn't stop her from exercising her rights. Her exercising her rights as a woman to do whatever she may need to do to not take on the responsibility. And she exercised none of those liberties or rights. Why? Because there's some incentive involved given the profile of the men who are impregnating her. So all the way around, it isn't a crazy notion to put it out there in the atmosphere that money might be involved with why you chose to do what you did. But again, to your point, when a person, and I truly believe this, even someone who is convinced that there is nothing inherently wrong with what they are doing, and they say it over and over again, they've allowed themselves to become mired in their own individual psychosis. You know how you can say something over and over again to the point where you actually come to believe it? I think even in those people's heart of hearts, there's something in their soul that is telling them there's something not all the way right about what I'm doing. There's something there. There's something there. And that's something that is telling you that there's something not all the way right about what you're doing. That's the little voice in you that is creeping up and making you unmute to come at the people who are criticizing you.
Yes.
Because if you didn't care and you knew that what you were doing wasn't an issue, there'd be no need to defend yourself against it. Who cares? I think the only time people unmute to defend themselves is when they know that there might be something not all the way right with what's going on with them. And I think for a lot of these people who do this kind of stuff, they know that there's something not all the way right. It's well within their right to do it. It's not illegal. And of course, obviously, if you know the history of where I stand when it comes to content like this on this channel, typically I look at the men. So I don't blame her necessarily. I think that she was granted that pathology. And I think that she was granted that pathology by people like Lil Baby and Anthony Edwards for giving her the gift of life when they shouldn't have and didn't have to. So ultimately, responsibility lays at those guys' feet for why this took place. But I think at the end of the day, you're still doing it. And there's still a little voice in you that's saying there might not be something all the way right about this. So let me unmute to defend myself over it. But, you can choose to do that or you cannot choose to do that. I still feel as though people suggesting that there is something ulterior going on here is not beyond the pale, given the track record. You didn't enforce the condom rule. You weren't on individual contraception. You didn't do anything but get pregnant. And you're not actually with either of these guys. You're just a twice over baby mama receiving hefty child support payments. I'm not exactly sure what people are supposed to think, given those being the facts. But the tricky and dangerous part about this, and the reason why I like to talk about this on this channel more often than not, is because it's thought processes like this, in my opinion, that crystallize what I have talked about over the course now of several videos, in which I suggest that this loose moral way of living is becoming aggressively mainstreamed, and it's being coded as women empowerment, sexual liberation, women's rights, a women's right to do whatever she wants. It's being coded under these types of righteous manifestos when really it's just a card carrying ability to be able to slore your way into whatever lifestyle you deem fit for yourself.
Yes.
Given whoever is going to grant you access to that.
Yeah.
In her case, it was the rapper and the NBA player. And there is a trickle-down effect to that kind of mode of thinking. The more aggressively normalized and mainstreamed it becomes, the more you have people, you call them civilians, who aren't in the celebrity ecosystem, but still carry themselves in that same capacity and try to replicate that formula. And so as more of this continues to happen over time, we need to, at some point, cease having conversation after conversation about the complete and utter degradation of the family structure and the two-parent household and all of these other things that we wax poetically about on this channel and in other channels, in other areas where people are trying to figure out why marriage is in the pits, why relationships are in the pits, why the marriage rate is, I believe, currently 51% and continues to get worse each year. Well, as we continue to aggressively mainstream these pathologies, things like family will continue to erode until it ceases to exist. So that's my motivation for talking about this. But just on the ground level, I don't think people are out of pocket for being like she's doing something for a check, because whether she in her heart truly believes she's not doing something for a check, she is nevertheless motivated by something, because it ain't just ballers, it ain't just NBA players, it ain't just rappers who are talking to her. I guarantee it. I've been alive long enough. She goes out in public. She does whatever she does during her daily life. Whether she's getting DM'd on Instagram, and not every one of those guys plays in the NBA or is a famous rapper. So unless she can figure out the right kind of way to explain that level of selectivity to me, I think it is well within people's rights to suspect that there is a motivating factor for her moving in this manner, albeit her also not necessarily being completely off base with calling other people out for doing the exact same thing on the other side of the coin.
Yeah, and my thing is, and what well said, bro. And my thing is with this whole gold digger conversation, I still don't know why it's so offensive. I mean, when you're dealing with top tier, 304s, because she's like, she's up there, man. She's one of the final bosses type of thing. You know what I'm saying? She's high on the scale. When it comes to playing this game. Why be offended by it? What's wrong with you? Just embrace it like the box rappers do it. Gold. I'm a gold digger. So what?
Right.
It's literally a career goal. And to not call it gold digging, I don't know what else. What else would you call it? You were actually in love with these men? Is that what you're trying to convince me of?
She'd probably say that. I would imagine she would say something like that.
But why? Why lie to me? And why lie to the world? Everybody sees it. You're only lying to yourself. Who's going for this? Is my question. So this speaks to your point of there's like some type of internal battle. It must be for these comments to be so loud in her head. But if you tell Amber Rose that, Amber Rose she'll gobble that up. So,
right. Yeah.
But this girl here, she's still trying to justify her thing. And like you said, her making her rebuttal was more of a jab. It was a jab at these other women, basically. And some women, that would have been fans of her or whatever in her comment section, follow her or whatever, just jabbing away at it because she does think she's superior. Just because she has a BBL or whatever the hell's going on back there. You know what I'm saying? And so the delusion that's going on in this culture as well is also becoming comical to me. These people parade around living in an artificial world, believing in artificial everything. That's why she has artificial everything. When you say, hey, man, we're going to hear this straight from the horse's mouth. And I'll say, yeah, also from the horse's hair as well. You know what I'm saying? But she'll let me know that this is like some type of yaki or something that was imported from India or something. You know what I'm saying? As if that makes it any better, So listen, man, for all of this stuff that's going on in this realm, these people, they can have it. I like the fact that they're self-identifying, even though they're denying it. The whole fact that she posts images like this online is self-identifying for me. Mm-hmm. It should be self-identifying for any other man out there. So there's enough data that's floating around the internet to know you know what you're getting when you decide to inbox a woman like this. So this is on a high level, or the poverty women, as Miss Howard would say. because there's women in poverty posting pictures like this too, and they're looking for their own individual come up because their baby daddy was probably some type of whatever person, and now she see you got a job, now she see you got a car, now she see you got your own apartment, and that's everything her baby daddy didn't have. So you know what I'm saying? So now she want to try to level up in her own little world. So for the age of like you said, women empowerment, feminism, independent women, I don't need no man. I don't need to listen to a man. There's sure a lot of this dependency on men.
Yeah,
in order to get to where you're trying to go.
Kind of looks that way. Yeah,
it looks that way. If you don't need any men, if you don't care what men think, why are you getting BBLs? I've seen stuff on TikTok floating around lately because I took a sabbatical from TikTok, man. I needed to give my brain a break. I called myself getting back on this week and seeing the most disturbing things, of course. But now, man, I found out that there's a BBL odor. You heard about this?
No.
There's sit down BBL odors because the fat that they're using to inject these women in their arse, some of it don't take and it dies. So they're walking around with rotting flesh in their anus. So everywhere they go, this one lady said she'll wash her clothes. You know what I'm saying? That smell's still in the clothes, bro. Like it don't go nowhere. And I was like, there's women out here walking around with dead fat in their arse, walking around smelling like a corpse. And these necrophiliac men are still running around here chasing after BBLs that smell like a landfill. So I don't even know if this young lady here had one of those BBLs that didn't take. There's no telling. But to me, she probably got bad sit down there. So for her to be walking around here with a pH that's off, with sit down air that smells, for her to be acting like she's holier than thou because she got a ball player and a rapper, she need to go on somewhere. So yeah, man. So this whole lifestyle is a facade. And to each their own. Like you said, these rappers, these ball players, they're going for it because it's whatever. It's on them too. But for everybody else that's in between, the same people out here, let's just watch these people act the clown that they are, and eat some popcorn and get a good show out of it. Because these people's lifestyle shouldn't really reflect yours, and you shouldn't hang around people who think like these people. I would say that as well. But yeah, man, disturbing stuff that I found out about those BBLs, man. Unbelievable.
That is very disturbing. Yeah, I mean, people only go on the defensive when they feel as though their character is being attacked. And so she's on the defensive because she feels like her character is being attacked. But I don't know, man. If I've been charged with, if I've committed manslaughter multiple times, and someone says, man, this person really has a bad issue, like, you know what I'm saying? Like if I've been found guilty of manslaughter more than once, and someone says, yo, this person doesn't need to have a license because they're just bad with driving, far be it for me to unmute to say, how dare you challenge my good driving? It was just bad luck, but I'm actually a good driver. Like that kind of stuff doesn't happen to a good driver more than once. And so for you to unmute to defend yourself against claims of gold digging, given the facts of your life, is comical. Like I said, it's ludicrous. But people will defend themselves even against the indefensible when they feel like they're doing something that isn't all the way right, but still want to be morally absolved. And I think that that's what individuals in her place are going for. Because I don't know what she thought. Like, you're not with either one of these guys. You're getting child support from both of them. Did you think that y'all were in love? You thought that y'all were going to be together? Why aren't you co-parenting with this person instead of being the baby mama and having sole custody and getting these child support checks? If it really isn't all about money. There's just too much. There are too many extenuating circumstances to count to qualify her having a case to be right in this matter. I just don't get it. And to your point about the gold digging thing, I think it's weird. This is speculative on my part. I feel like the gold digging thing strikes a chord with these people because I guess the traditional understanding of gold digging is that you go about your life targeting men for their money. And I guess for people like her, she's saying, hey, I didn't target these guys. They came to me. So I guess that's why she feels like it's not gold digging, because she's just sitting there and they're coming to her. And so it is what it is. She didn't go out and target them necessarily. But my whole thing is, this is 2025. So you have to adjust everything. It's like economics adjusting the cost to inflation. In this day and age, you have to adjust it to the current cultural zeitgeist. Yeah, you might not be doing it the way they did it in the 90s, where you're sitting in a hotel room waiting for the bus to pull up. But you're still leveraging your body 24/7 on the internet.
Correct.
You're still posting constantly on your Instagram. You're still making your presence online all about how good your body and your looks are. Yes. Leveraging it, you're trying to maximize that in an effort to leverage it for some sort of a benefit.
Correct.
This being one of them. So it comes off feeling a bit predatory, even though you're not physically being predatory, even though you're not physically asserting yourself into a man's cipher as a gold digger. So in a roundabout way, when adjusted to inflation, when adjusted to the 2024, 2025 way that this current generation does things, it's kind of the same thing.
It is.
Like, what the result that you expect to get out of this experiment is. So to your point, stop faking the funk. The dishonesty and the cap is annoying. And I think one of the reasons why a chick like Brittany Renner was appreciated by certain people is because, as slorish as she was nevertheless putting it out there and letting you know, I do this on purpose.
Correct.
Whereas you got chicks like this who are trying to philosophically pigeonhole herself into the righteous category, even though there's no evidence to back up the idea that she's doing it for anything other than what the rest of these sex worker adjacent people do things for.
Correct.
So you can miss me with that. I think she's full of BS. I'm not buying anything she's selling. She's a joke as far as I'm concerned. But even more than a joke are the guys who get her pregnant. The rapper, I forget his name already.
No, baby.
Yeah, he's a joke to me.
Of course.
Anthony Edwards, for how great he is as a basketball player, seems to be living his personal life with no regard for anything. So he's kind of a joke to me as well. You give women like this the gift of life when they otherwise don't deserve it, and then you give them a paycheck into perpetuity for no reason other than you lack judgment and didn't care.
Because she had a big booty.
Right. Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous. But this is where we are with this. And again, the reason why I broach this kind of stuff is because I believe in the nature of the trickle-down effect. As this kind of way of living becomes more aggressively mainstreamed and normalized, I bring it back to my nephew once again. I believe that we will be living in a world, if we're not already there, in which, my 14, 15-year-old nephew is going to be dating chicks who think like this. And it isn't because he wants to be, and it isn't because he wasn't raised right. It's because the numbers are just not in his favor. This is going to become so commonplace that he has no choice but to make the best of it with women who have that kind of mentality. So it's unfortunate, but it's unfortunate, but I do think that that's what's on the horizon.
Yeah, and I hear you, man. But I was saying, like, you can't make the best of these things. They're things. They're not even people. There's the sexual objects that they display themselves to be all day on the internet. And that's another thing too, man. They're sitting up, they literally objectify themselves.
Right.
So for me calling her a thing, I'm not being offensive. She literally is. You click on her page right now, she's doing all of these things. Yeah. Showing me every part of her body. You know, even though things are covered, you can still see through things, and she wants you to see it. You know, so she's objectifying herself. So she is a thing. And so, yeah, you can't really reason with that. There is none. So, you know, I'm still reserving hope, man. I still got hope out there for people out there. I still think there's a lot of people out here witnessing the clown show and not participating themselves. But yeah, man. So we'll see what happens with with the future, bro. It is looking bleak. These women have too much of a platform.
Yeah.
And that's why the conscious approach is so necessary. It is, bro. It's necessary. So y'all just came across this video because, like, oh yeah, whatever. Nah, man. What we're doing right now, we're the antithesis of this type of thinking, this type of logic, this kind of spirit. And so by us out here just engaging in these levels of conversation, and you guys down in the comment section, what it's doing is it's neutralizing this foolishness in the internet cosmos. So for more people out here, man, so just hop on board. Let us know what y'all think. Do y'all agree with JV Wins and me about, you know, her take on this situation? Or do you feel as though that, hey, man, she's got a point. She's right. She's not a gold digger. She's not a gold digger. She just, you know, put out a broad net, and there's just a lot of men that find her attractive. Is there anything wrong with that? Yeah. I can't even say that with a straight face. No gold digging ass out of
here. broad net my ass. ain't no broad net. Her cash app is ready and waiting to receive waiting to receive them payments, man.
Oh, man.
Stop getting chicks like this pregnant, man. We need to have a come to Jesus meeting with these dudes, bro. You can have fun with them, do what you do, use them for the tools they are, but stop giving them life. They do not deserve it. They don't deserve it. Jesus Christ. And that's not even me being religious. That's me saying that out of frustration.
Oh, man.
And from one dysfunctional story to much less dysfunctional, but still interesting all the same story involving everyone's royal black family, the Obamas.
That's right.
Black royalty. Yeah, the kings and queens, the shining beacons for the example of who we want to be. And,
Yes.
you know, to be honest with you, given what we just got finished talking about, they are at this point. You know, depending on how cynical you've gotten with all this stuff. But, you know, Barack Obama, you know, is talking, you know, doing, I don't know what it is that he is on that has him doing interviews as of late, but he's recently been talking about, you know, his experience being president and the strain that this placed on his marriage. And he said that as a result of him being a two-term president, he came out of his presidency in a marriage deficit to his wife, Michelle Obama, who at one point didn't really think too highly of him because while he was president. And so he is, you know, talking about this stuff and saying, hey, look, man, everything in all rainbows and unicorns, even the best, most solid of relationships go through turmoil. Ours was no different. And now that I am no longer president, it gives me the opportunity and the bandwidth to try and get back in her good graces as much as possible. So this says Barack Obama says he's in deep deficit with wife Michelle after presidency. The marriage of former President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama met some hurdles after his two terms. On Thursday, which was April the 3rd, the 44th U.S. president held a speaking engagement with Hamilton College President Stephen Tepper and spoke about the difficulties of improving his marriage post-presidency. According to the Daily Beast, Obama, who's been married to the former First Lady for 33 years, was in a deep deficit with his wife. The couple shares two daughters, Malia, 26, and Sasha, 23. So I've been trying to dig myself out of that hole by doing occasionally fun things, Obama told Tepper. Last January, Mrs. Obama appeared on the podcast On Purpose with Jay Shetty and shared that she didn't want fans to consider her marriage ideal. I don't want people looking at me and Barack like hashtag couple goals and not know that no, there are some broken things that happen even in the best of marriages. But with over 30 years of marriage, Mrs. Obama said that the good has outweighed their issues. 2 years before, Mrs. Obama expressed on CBS Mornings that she couldn't stand her husband during a decade of marriage, which the public speculated was when Obama was president. In 2023, Obama addressed his wife's comments, saying that it helps to be out of the White House. So this particular clip is actually from 2023, not from very recently. But here is Barack speaking on this back in 2023.
Your wife Michelle on the show, and she had mentioned that for about 10 years of the marriage, she really didn't like you.
Oh man.
So asking for a friend, how do you get back in good grace again for a friend? You got a pen so I can take some notes.
Let me just say this. It sure helps to be out of the White House. And to have a little more time with her.
Right.
You know what also helps though about children. And
yeah.
I don't know about your spouse, Michelle. When our girls were growing up, that was priority number 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Of course.
And so I did not fully appreciate, I think, as engaged of a father as I was, the degree of stress and tension for her, knowing that not just me and Michelle were under scrutiny and in this strange environment, but that we were raising our daughters,
of course,
in a kind of situation that it just wasn't normal. Now that they're doing good,
yeah,
you know, she is a little more forgiving of all my flaws. She says, you know, what she's told me is, you know, looking back, you did okay as a dad.
Yeah.
And if I pass that test, then she'll forgive me most of my other foibles.
Interesting.
And there you have it. So that particular interview was from 2023, but what brought this story back up was his appearance at Hamilton College president, at the speaking engagement with Hamilton College president Steve Tepper, where this came back up. So I think that was the end of it. Yeah. So that was the end of that. So what do you think about that, bro? What do you think about this revelation that for a decade, and I'm pretty sure some of this is tongue in cheek, but for a decade, you know, Michelle Obama couldn't stand Barack, you know, and now Barack is in a deficit trying to make up for lost time.
You know, for the iconic family that embodies Black love, I don't care for this level of conversation from this group. Here's why. Every president has been married. I haven't heard any other president wife speak, any other first lady speak on their relationship. Never heard it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why we have to be in Barack's and Michelle's bedroom.
I can tell you why.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
No, go ahead. I'm pretty sure you have your own theory, but I would
love to hear it. So, but I'm just saying. But as far as this conversation goes, that's why I don't care for it. I don't want to know what they had going on. Does it make sense? Yeah, it makes sense in a sense that, yeah, this guy is being the president of the United States, which, you know, it is not a normal job. There's only been 40 something of them. There's only one going at a time. So, yeah, it's a very unique position. Yes, you're raising daughters. So there has to be a level of understanding. But this is the president of the United States. So I'm pretty sure there's assistants, other people, and chefs. I mean, you ain't got to cook. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to do nothing. you know, I don't know how hard it was to raise them when you got the Secret Service right next to you. Now I know raising your kids is hard, but you know that mama that really got to raise the kids by herself, you know, with the husband or whatever, you know, catching the bus to go get groceries, and you know that's a real struggle. So, you know, their situation, you know, everybody's on this, you know, their own thing, but you know, I think this, I think it's too overblown. It's too overblown. I don't need to hear about it. It wasn't that serious. It can't be that serious. But last thing I say before I let you go, they've been playing around with this thing that they're not happy. There's been a lot of that conversation going on lately.
Very weird.
What'd you say?
I said it's very weird.
Yeah. And you know, I think it was you know, Orange Man's inauguration, and or something like that, and all the ex-presidents that were still alive were there, and their wives were there. But then Obama shows up by himself, and it's, you know, the streets are sitting there. Well, you know, Michelle don't like Orange Man, so that's why she didn't show up. But you know, every other first lady did. So why aren't you? Why is the Cosby of all presidents for Black America walking out there by himself? So it's too much of that rigmarole going on for me. I don't care for it. And yeah, I would love to hear what you think about that, bro. But what are your thoughts, man, on Barack Hussein Obama running around here saying that, hey, man, my wife wasn't happy with me. I was operating at a deficit.
Right.
What are your thoughts, man?
You raise a good point. A couple things, because I actually didn't think to go in that direction initially until you said that, but I do have a working theory on why they're unmuting so much when it comes to the nature of their marriage. As you said, and you're right, there's only been 45 presidents. I would have to go. I'm not going to speak out of turn and say they've all been married. I don't know. I'm assuming they were all married, but you know, I don't. You know, I got to crack open my history book and look and see. Okay, this was their.
Somebody in the comment section saying President 32 was not.
Right. Yeah. So I don't, because I can't say that, because I can't say that with certainty. I'm just going to say the vast majority of them. You know, it's almost a prerequisite, right? President of the United States, be a family man, be somebody who's married. And yes, I'm saying man because thus far there have only been men who have been president. So get off my back. I'm not trying to suggest only men should be president, but that has been what has happened thus far. The vast majority of them have been married. Coming out of their presidency, there's not been this commentary and dissection and general interest into the intimacies and the intricacies of their respective marriages. You know, when the term is over, the term is over, and that's just it, right? And, you know, there's been other Democratic presidents and all of this kind of stuff. There's only been interest whenever there's scandal, a la the Clintons. But if you remove scandal from the equation, it is what it is. They were married, and we move on. The reason why I think there's so much interest in them is because of the current state of the Black family. It's in complete and utter disarray. So, you know, why do you think if you scour the internet enough, the dating and relationship podcasts, all of the dating content and commentary on the internet, all of the men's manosphere podcasts and the Fresh and Fit shows and the We in Miami shows, you know, the 20 versus 1 thing and the pop the balloon stuff and all that, right? If you're looking at any of this stuff, you're mostly seeing people from the community in this content, by and large. Now, don't get me wrong, the degradation of the family structure is something that is impacting all cultures. It is impacting all races. It's impacting all ethnicities. If you have ingratiated yourself in westernized civilization, you're being affected by this. So this is something that's happening to everybody. But I personally believe it is disproportionately impacting Black people in America more than other groups. Some of that has to do with statistics, because our numbers are the lowest amongst most minority groups at this point. And so any sort of societal observation is going to have a greater disproportionate effect because you're dealing with smaller numbers overall. You're dealing with a smaller sample size. So some of that is stats and numbers and statistics, but a lot of it I also believe is cultural. And I can't really put my finger on it, but I've kind of expressed to you before, we've talked about this. I've said to myself, well, why do we see more basketball players and football players being involved with Ayesha Howards of the world, but you don't see as many baseball players and hockey players or non-black football players dealing with the same kind of scandalous stuff? It's always Tyreek Hill or Anthony Edwards or Lil Baby, you know what I'm saying? James Harden. It's always people who look like us. But I can look in the NFL and Trevor Lawrence seems to be good with marriage and family. Matthew Stafford seems to be good with marriage and family. You know what I'm saying? People like this, they just seem to be good with marriage and family. It doesn't seem to bother them. So I think statistics have something to do with this, and I think culture has something to do with this. I can explain the statistics. I can't quite put my finger on the cultural aspect of it, but I do know what I'm seeing, and I'm not imagining this stuff. There's something going on with us where we are being more greatly impacted by messages and consumerism and all of these various other environmental things that are impacting and causing the degradation of the family structure. And I think because we are being more impacted by the degradation of the family structure, we look to certain symbols and things that we can hold on to as hope that these things can be preserved and maintained. And I think for a lot of us, Obamas represent that. They represent that. And so they want to dig into what makes their marriage. We want to dig into what makes their marriage work, what makes it last. How do you deal with the challenges and the trials and tribulations? Because maybe we can use that as an example of what we can carry back for ourselves to figure out ways that we can preserve it for ourselves. Because otherwise, it's in complete and utter disarray. And again, other cultures and races and ethnicities and groups and demographics are being impacted by the same stuff, but there's a cultural aspect of this that is impacting us more than other groups of people from what I can tell. And when you combine that with the numbers, we have what I theorize is a greater degradation of the family unit that is hitting our community more than other communities. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think we care so much about what they got going on. It's why I think, I don't know if you remember this, but for the longest time, Michael B. Jordan, there was just the internet was obsessed with who he was dating. And it's why it was almost like it was a holiday when it went public that he was dating Lori Harvey, because he was with a black girl. So people were so relieved and happy to discover that this desirable black man wasn't with a non-black woman, he was with a black woman, because it symbolized some sort of a representation of what could be when it comes to retaining what we have left of the black family structure. So we need examples of this to cling to in order to know that we can preserve something that is being utterly degraded with each passing day and year and moment. And so we don't got, Michael B. Jordan, he's a private guy, which I respect about him. So now that the Lori Harvey thing is done, nobody really knows who he's with, but he went through that firestorm. And I believe he went through that firestorm for that reason. And the Obamas, I wouldn't call what the Obamas have experienced a firestorm, because they seem to be voluntarily letting people in, but it's nevertheless the same dynamic, because they represent for a lot of the community an example of how to retain the black family structure, because there's so little examples of it elsewhere to look at, whether we're talking about celebrities, high profile people, or people on the streets, civilians. So that's why I think that there's so much interest in it. And to touch on just the situation at large with them two in particular. I credit them for being able to work through that, and I'll bring it back to something that you've talked about routinely, which is not letting certain things come in the way of breaking up the family unit, because breaking up the family unit does more harm than good. So, I think in this era where we're dealing with individual agency and just individualism in general, everything is me centric. Nothing is about community or family. It's all about me, I. What's best for me? What do I want? What do I deserve? Deserve is such a strong word, but a lot of people these days, men and women, are always like, this is what I want, and this is what I'm entitled to, and this is what I deserve. And if I don't get that, I'm not going to commit to something. And if I have committed to something and I stop getting it, I'm going to look for a way out because I feel like I deserve better. I'm not happy. And so, in lieu of that kind of thought process, you get families breaking up over things that need to be worked out. And when the family breaks up, you got nothing. What did Jay-Z say? Nobody wins when the family feuds. And that's why I commend this without digging too much into their personal lives, because quite frankly, I don't give a damn. I really don't care. but I think the reason why other people care is because of all of this stuff swirling around it, what it potentially symbolizes. So, it's like, if they're able to work through that, it can perhaps be emblematic of the importance of not allowing the family to feud, of not allowing the family to break up and dissolve over ridiculous stuff. And so maybe that's also why there's so much interest in this. But yeah, preserve the family, keep it going. You can't stand the guy for 8 years. He's running the country. So what? Deal with it. It is what it is. And that is symbolic of other situations where there's a strain. All of a sudden, somebody is not happy or unfulfilled or not satisfied. And you think inwardly, selfishly, about how to be able to get that part of yourself back. And in your quest to try to get part of that back, you break up the family. And at the end of the day, was it really worth it? In my opinion, no. But this is what we have going on when everything is hyper-focused on individualism and what a person, an individual, deserves or otherwise is entitled to. So that's kind of my big picture take on that. That's kind of why I think people are so interested in them and what they got going on, and why they may feel compelled to speak on it, even though I, for the most part, largely agree. Keep it close to the vest.
Yeah, fair point, bro. Didn't think about that, but when you said that though, it made it. I have an answer for that. At least for me, as far as why people in our community are in this position, and it's because there isn't any tradition to hold on to. Period. The traditions that Americans have, American Black people, to be specific, is commercialism, it's industrialism, and there's nothing there that speaks to tribal knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Every part of that was going on has been, in my opinion, systematically dissolved. And you can speak, it also speaks to, you can see people that come from another country and they come to America, and generation 1, generation 2 seem to have things figured out, but then the kids that came up Americanized are dropping the ball. And the reason being is because they're coming up in a country that doesn't honor their people's traditions. And so over year, generation over generation, there has been a systemic wearing down of values.
Absolutely.
To the point where in the 90s, when we were coming up, people were looking at Uncle Phil and Bill Cosby,
Carl Winslow,
power bottom Carl Winslow, okay, as pinnacles of the Black community, people that we would look up to. Those were people's fathers. Which, how do we get there? You know, so to the point where people got so used and they got conditioned to looking at, you know, the devil's box and picking out people that they're going to emulate their life after. It was no wonder that when Obama got in office and they see this man on the tube and his wife, all right, they immediately fell in love with that image. But this was a real image. You know, this wasn't something that was, you know, a Hollywood situation according to them. This was real Black love and Black president at that. So why not model themselves or hold them up like they held up Uncle Phil, Power Bottom, and what that boy name? Yeah, Carl Winslow and all that stuff, man. So so the lack of culture, real culture, the lack of rites of passage. See, you go in other communities, man. They got quinceañeras. And
correct. Yes.
they got bar mitzvahs.
Right. Right.
They have rites of passage things going on.
Correct. Yeah.
And we don't have any of those things.
No.
And so we did, though. And there's still places in the world where we're doing them. But right here, right now in America, our traditions are stem from consumerism and the industrial complex. So our rites of passage is buying fly fancy stuff. You turn a certain age, you get this kind of car. You wear these kind of shoes. You do this kind of that. That's not anything. You know, that's literally the definition. If you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. So no wonder when there's certain images on TV, people fall for that. So valid point bringing up that, you know, since there is no real image or anything like that, that they gravitated towards this. And I'll take it a step further and say, hey, they was doing that in the 90s with characters from sitcoms.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it don't stop. So it will progressively get worse, and to the point now where people are so interested in who streamers are dating. You know what I'm saying? We asking Ruby Rose, was she, you know what I'm saying? What's her standards?
Well, that's how you know we've reached the point of no return. Because these individuals like that, they aren't doing anything that resembles even a shred or modicum of the word family doesn't even come out of a Ruby Rose's mouth.
No, not even close.
I saw something that I think I was sourcing topics for this week. I saw something that said she put something out, I believe, on Twitter saying that if a man, I gotta look for it because I don't want to quote it wrong, but it was something egregious. Mm-hmm. It was something to the effect of, if a man I'm talking to isn't prepared to pay for my hairdo, I know we won't make it that far, or something like that. And she did that in lieu of posting a screenshot of somebody cash apping her $500. So to your point, our culture is unabashedly consumerism. 1 million trillion %. It's why disproportionately so many of our desirable quote unquote women carry themselves transactionally when it comes to how they handle relationships.
Yes.
Because for them, they're not going to get marriage, they're not going to get family, they're not going to get commitment anyway. So I might as well quite literally whore myself out to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
Because I at least am looking out for my best interest when I'm doing this, which takes it back to the central point of individualism.
Yes.
And everyone's hyper obsession with themselves. So when you're constantly only consumed with what benefits you, you don't have enough bandwidth to consider what is best for family and community. You really don't. And it's conversations like this that I never thought that I would do this, but I find myself more and more nowadays wondering whether the communal setup really is better than nothing at all.
Hey,
You know what I'm saying? So when you defend the practicality of the Nick Cannon model, because you've never really defended Nick Cannon per se, but you've always defended the practicality inherent in that particular approach.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, I was always like, it's not really my thing. But the more and more I see stuff like this, the more and more I find myself reconsidering the pragmatism of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, if that's the only semblance of community that we can come to, what choice do you have?
Exactly, dude.
Seriously. And at the end of the day, I harken back to my initial point. The reason why there is so much interest in the health of the marriage of these two people is because our community is dying literally from the inside out. We're infected with a virus that is destroying. It is literally the family structure is literally degrading year over year. And the reason why we care about what they got going on is because they represent the breakthrough science that could potentially free us from that virus, that can cure us.
Yes.
They represent the experimental drug that may be the cure for cancer. And so that's people care just as much about that experimental drug as they do about them. It's the same dynamic. So I try to be optimistic with it, but our people are being impacted by this to a great degree, and I agree with you 100%. I do believe that when you don't have actual customs, like when you can't benefit from a country of origin, from a language of origin, and then you can't benefit from the customs which encompass that country and language of origin, you have to essentially make up culture on the fly.
Correct.
And so when you're making up culture on the fly, that's when rap becomes your culture.
Yes.
That's when hip hop becomes your culture.
Yes.
That's when Maybachs and red bottoms become your culture.
Yes.
And you're eroding actual family in the process of prioritizing materialism.
Yep.
So it's just one of those things, man. And I feel like they represent the counterintuitive point to that ideal. And it's why people care so much about it. People care so much about it because they're screaming out really for help. Give us our experimental drug, because people want family more than they realize. Even the thoughtiest of the thoughts.
Absolutely.
And the rest of these dudes running around in the streets paying for these women, paying for these BBL'd up chicks, they want family too. Like, we all want to bring it back to that. We just don't know how, and we're going about getting it in all the wrong ways.
Yeah, 1,000, man. And last thing I'll say is that there's like, if you're an American, there's only two ways you can live. Your culture can be the one who sells it to people, or your culture can be the ones who buy it from people. And right now we have been sold the idea of to be the consumer. And that's why we're in the predicament that we're in. Like I said, other countries, they'll come over here, they'll do their thing, and they are in the mindset of being the seller. Then over time, through conditioning, they are taught and trained to be the buyers. And so the cycle will eventually hit those cultures too. So we've just been here for the longest.
Right. Yeah.
And so we've been experiencing it year over year, and the trauma is building on itself. So I would just tell people, man, that just trace things back, man. Just do yourself a favor. Look back in history and see how we did carry ourselves. See what we believed in, see how we did things, see what our rites of passage were, and try to get back some semblance, because the benefit of living in a world where there's the internet and all these things flying around, there's so much history out there. Yeah. There's so many books. I ain't talking about just YouTube videos either. And if you're not the reading type, there's plenty of audiobooks, all right, where you could just sit down and listen to history and, you know, put yourself in the right state of mind. So the next time, you know, something materialistic pop up on your feed or something like that, you know that there's life outside of that, you know. And there needs to be a re-education of our people on what it takes to be a people. And it starts with, like you said, abandoning what we've been sold, like hip hop and rap. And I would say adopting things that are a lot more traditional that we did historically before we lost our minds. So, yeah, man, you know, whatever with the Obamas, man, I guess, you know, more power to them or good luck. But you know what I'm saying? But again, personally, bro, yeah, I don't care for them talking about their relationship. I guess they're just being real, keeping it 100. But that's another thing. Sometimes you don't need to keep it 100. Sometimes, especially if y'all know y'all are the beacon and the example for our people, there's no better way of being that beacon or example than to not let people know what's going on in y'all bedroom.
The dirty laundry.
The dirty laundry. Because that's like you going around at work and telling everybody at work what you got going on in your house. Everybody gonna be looking at you crazy and talking sideways now. You know what I'm saying? But Frank over there, an accountant, you know what I'm saying? He got the stuff going on, and he's not coming into the water cooler and telling everybody everything. So keep everything close to the vest and maintain that level of aura and respect. You know, some people could say, "Hey, man, they just showing us that they're just like us, man, and they can overcome." And that's fine. But I'm just saying, look at the other examples and conduct yourselves accordingly. I would say that.
Yeah, I think the reason why there's as much interest as it is because we all collectively can feel the absence and lack of traditional values within community, the complete and utter breakdown and degradation of the family structure, the erosion of it. And the reason why people care so much is because when you see examples of it, even if it isn't real, we nevertheless hold on to it as a signal of hope. And so there's an optimism to be here. There's optimism in that because the hope means that people do want it and clamor for it, even if we are going to just log off and go back to being insane tomorrow. At least the presence of the hope is there. So it is what it is.
Yeah, man. You know, but let us know down in the comment section, y'all. What are your thoughts on Obama around here saying that he's on the outs? Well, he was on the outs with Michelle. But I guess over the years they were able to calm that down. But what are you guys' thoughts, man? Let us know down in the comment section.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Jamie Foxx Barack impression is funny.
He sounded just like Jamie. I was like, "Hey, man, you doing an Obama impersonation on yourself? Like, what the hell?" Well, it helps to not be president.
Yeah.
Down, boy.
Next up, we got a friend of the channel, Sexyy Red. We've broached Sexyy Red on this channel before as well. And Joe Budden on his podcast recently gave his thoughts on what he felt was Sexyy Red code switching and going back to making ghetto degenerate music, which he perceives her perception to be that that's her base. So to try and summarize this whole situation here, Sexyy Red, of course, known for her ratchet pocket rap, right? That's kind of what she was known for. She puts out this song with Bruno Mars, which was somewhat of a departure from what she typically does, but the song not very well received. It bombed. So in response to that, Sexyy Red goes back to the well and puts out a song called Hoochie Coochie. And so Joe Budden and the people on his show, they were talking about this situation, and Joe Budden is saying, you tried to code switch because you thought that you can get mass appeal, and now you want to come back to us with your Hoochie Coochie song, being, giving us that black degenerate music because you think that that's what we want to hear. And Joe Budden is just not here for the code switching. He believes it does a disservice to artistry and all of that good stuff. So this says, Joe Budden says Sexyy Red's Hoochie Coochie is force-feeding black audience with degenerate track. Joe Budden has never been shy about airing his opinions, and his recent critique of Sexyy Red's collaboration with Bruno Mars is no exception. On a recent episode of the Joe Budden podcast, the veteran rapper turned cultural commentator took aim at the track Fat, Juicy, and Wet, calling it whitewashed and questioning the intent behind its commercial packaging. While online chatter mistakenly linked his critique to a non-existent Sexyy Red song titled Hoochie Coochie, Budden's actual concern centers on what he perceives as a growing reliance on stereotypes to capture the attention of black audiences. Budden suggested the collaboration feels more like a marketing formula than a sincere musical expression. He took particular issue with Bruno Mars, an artist who built his career on vintage soul and pop, veering into hypersexualized territory, seemingly to match Red's provocative energy. To Budden, the move felt more like a costume than creative evolution. He compared the tactic to politicians pandering to marginalized voters by adopting exaggerated performative personas, familiar, calculated, and hollow. So, correction, there is actually no such song as Hoochie Coochie, but he did challenge, nevertheless, her attempt to mainstream herself by going with this song with Bruno Mars, and it didn't work. So here is some of that sound from that exchange where, Joe Budden is talking about how he feels about, Sexyy Red doing this.
It ain't your juice. It ain't your feng shui that's doing it. You are relying on whatever you're relying on. So if you don't have all of those same variables with you, whatever same shit was working in the universe on your next go, I just can't rely on you to deliver me the product that made me a fan of you because you're leasing it. She's leasing it. I'm calling a spade. She's leasing it. Whatever this is ain't from them. I ain't seen a credit. I can assure you it ain't from the same people that was there before. Shit. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But just off hearing it, nah.
Okay.
Now she fucks with my people, so I hope that they do well. But enough of y'all just force feeding ghetto bullshit to black people because we fucking listen to it and this is our hood and this is our shit. Because when you cleaned up when you went over there with Bruno Mars, I'm a little mad at her, actually. I'm a little mad at her. Don't come back over here with this degenerate shit after you tried to go clean up with Bruno Mars and it didn't work. Don't do that. Nope.
See, I get that. I'm not mad at that.
I ain't doing it.
Because I gotta go back to what works. I tried something different. Like I always say about artists, I want you to try.
My fanfare is not second tier. I'm not mad at nobody trying. My fanfare is not second tier.
So you feel like she abandoned her core group?
She did what everybody did. She did what bitches do and what artists do.
You gonna make me cake for her now? I don't want
cake for her, but that's what she did.
She did. I could see if she did a whole project of that. She did one song.
So
I tried something. That don't mean I abandoned everybody with one song.
No, there's a lot of numbers between 0 and 100. There's a lot of numbers between 0 and 100.
Bro, she kept her image the same. She was still doing all the ratchet shit in her pictures. She did not.
Well, we forced to say that because we didn't see a successful image built around that song with Bruno. That
it didn't work.
But I know, but the intention remains the same. The intention remains the same. And no, as an artist, listen, I'm not telling everybody else how to view it. But niggas that make music and niggas that's into the artistry of it, no, you don't get to just treat the audience that built you up as some abandoned foster kid when you have other motives. No, you don't get to do that.
I don't see
Sorry,
it.
Sexyy
but
Red.
Again, we going to disagree on that. I don't see that she did that.
Yeah, but it's not here for us to disagree because what I'm stating is facts. Fuck how I feel about it.
Okay. Yeah.
The facts of the matter is you started at 0, built your shit up with ghetto black classics. And your image was having everybody look at you like, did she really just put that bullshit, that ghetto nasty fucking hood project shit in a song? That was her image.
That's a fact.
She tried to go a different route, I say, altogether. If y'all hear that Bruno song and think that that's in the same vein as what she was doing, then fine.
Not at all.
I'm not talking to you. But she tried to do something else. Correct. It did not work. This was her Starships Nicki moment. Is it Starships I'm thinking about?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Everybody get a wake-up call. This is hers. So granted, when you come back, it got to be with heat. It can't be with that. I'm back to farting on a record pad. They go a fart on a record pad. And now we just there to eat it up. No, my dollar today in this economy, in this system, my fanfare is worth more than that.
So what did you say?
All right. So,
all right, hey, bro, before you go on, there is a song called Hoochie Coochie. And it's a ratchet mess. But go on.
It is a Sexyy Red song?
It's a Sexyy Red song.
Okay.
Ratchet
mess. Why did the article say that? Did I read that wrong? The article said, while online chatter mistakenly linked his critique to a non-existent Sexyy Red song titled Hoochie Coochie. So the article must be wrong with that.
Yeah, they are, because I'm sitting here looking at the debauchery as we speak.
All right, well, I'm glad we cleared that up then. The critique didn't stop with Mars. Budden also questioned the motives behind high-profile cosigns, pointing specifically to Drake's recent championing of Sexyy Red. Budden floated the possibility that money, not mentorship, might be driving such support. In his view, these alliances sometimes feel more transactional than authentic, blurring the line between industry promotion and genuine artistic connection. That comment alone stirred debate, reigniting long-standing questions about influence, exposure, and how emerging artists navigate the modern music ecosystem. So that was Budden's take there. Basically saying she cold switched by trying to go mainstream, and that doesn't work. And so now you want to come back to us, but you want to come back to us with more of the ignorance, more of the debauchery, more of the salacious, degenerate, nonsense. So what do you think about that?
So I'm gonna give my spill. So I guess you can put because that's what I did, man. While the audio was playing, I had to do my little market research real quick. But yeah, man, just to do a little pause. I mean, a mute on your side or something, if you will, and then check out the Bruno Mars video and how that looks, and then check out Hoochie Coochie.
Okay.
And then from there, I think you can probably pick up what Joe's putting down. So. Now, I just went and looked at it because, believe it or not, guys, I don't go around listening to Sexyy Red, nor do I do any Sexyy Red market research unless there's a topic that comes up, okay? So I looked at the Bruno Mars video. I heard a bit of the audio. There was a switch up there. That's definitely not the atypical Sexyy Red. The type of clothes she was wearing, the way she was carrying herself, from the beat to how the song plays out. It's definitely a commercialized, user-friendly song. I would not be surprised if I went to a pub, you know what I'm saying, a bar, at some type of, kickback situation where there's pickleball being played, that I would hear that kind of song. So that's what it was made for. It sounds ready for the radio. So I get that, but I don't think it was due to. So here's why I disagree with Joe. I don't think she came out with Hoochie Coochie because the Bruno Mars song flopped. I think she came out with Hoochie Coochie because, well, she's a hoochie and she's all about popping box. All right. So what she tried to do there, or what the label tried to do there, they tried it. They tried to get a Sexyy Red song on the radio, iHeart stuff. And so I don't listen to the radio. I don't listen to iHeart, but I would be surprised if that song's not on the radio. So I think the mission was accomplished with that song with Bruno Mars. It sounds the regular formulaic thing that I would hear from any other industry crossover song. And then I think Hoochie Coochie also works because that's the song for the strip clubs. So that's the song where, girls are, on Memorial Weekend, on the trunk of a car, popping thought pockets. So I think what the label is doing with their cash cow box wrapper is, just running the gambit. Will this work? Will that work? I don't think it was just because she tried to cross over with another group of people and it failed. I don't think so. I think looking at those numbers, it looks like it did well. And I wouldn't be surprised if I go out somewhere. So I disagree with Joe's initial stance. I agree overall with the premise that if you cross over, there's a cleaner type of way to do it. And then if you want to make something for the blacks, okay, there's a certain way you do that. Now, that I agree with that premise, but I don't agree that the Bruno Mars thing was a fail. I think it accomplished its goal. But what are your thoughts, man, on Joe Budden around here calling out Sexyy Red and her lack of crossover, and then now coming over to the black people with ratchetness? What are your thoughts, man?
Okay, so Joe Budden. One thing that I appreciate about Joe Budden is, even though Joe Budden is unlike most people in the content creator hip hop space who pander to artists in order to not offend people. Joe Budden doesn't care if you like him or not. Like, Joe Budden's not trying to preserve relationships. He doesn't care. Like, Drake don't like Joe Budden because Joe Budden will be critical of Drake. Even though Joe Budden has also said he feels like Drake is one of the greatest. I don't agree with this, of course, but Joe Budden has said that in his opinion, Drake is one of the greatest artists ever because he's put out a lot of classic albums. Like, he thinks very highly of like Drake's Views album and all of that. So he holds Drake in extreme high regard, despite the fact that he will unmute to go at Drake. And Drake doesn't like that. And so they don't have a very good relationship. It's very contentious. My point in bringing that up is Joe Budden does not perform his current job for the purposes of making sure that he's not upsetting people in the industry. He's going to express how he feels about stuff, and he's not going to pander. The reason why I bring that up is because when he does praise a particular artist for what they're doing, I believe him. And when he critiques them, I also believe that too. I just believe he's being honest the majority of the time. And because I believe that he's being honest the majority of the time, I believe he believes this about Sexyy Red. And he believes that she's doing a disservice to artistry by doing this code switching thing, thinking that you got to hoochie coochie it up in order to appeal to a black audience, instead of making whatever you think you should make, and it will appeal to whomever it appeals to. While I understand the sentiment, the central problem with what Budden is saying is his assumption that Sexyy Red is an artist.
Correct.
With all due respect to Joe Budden, I don't think Sexyy Red cares about being an artist.
No.
We talked about this I don't even remember who we were talking about or what we were talking about, but it was along these similar lines. Like, I don't think she cares about artistic merit or being an artist. I just think she cares about being a hip hop star. Like, she cares about making hits, songs that's gonna get played, that's gonna get her beats on streaming or radio, if you still care about radio, so that she can perform her shows and make her money and get played up on the algorithm. Like, she merely cares about being a hip hop star. She's a bot. She doesn't care about being an artist. So Joe Budden's entire premise only makes sense from the standpoint that you're assuming Sexyy Red cares about artistry. And she doesn't care about artistry. She just cares about busting it wide open and making songs for the club and the strip club and blah blah blah. So because that's what I believe she prioritizes and cares about, this notion that her code switching is an affront to artistry kind of doesn't wash because she doesn't care about artistry. That's Joe Budden applying his sensibilities to what Sexyy Red's doing. And it just doesn't work and it doesn't make sense because what appeals to Joe Budden musically isn't what appeals to Sexyy Red musically or her audience. And he's not going to be able to recreate the world in his image in which that does apply. It simply doesn't. And if you continue to listen to more of that clip, Joe Budden will get eventually around to the point where he is like, well, at the end of the day, I have to admit this doesn't really appeal to my sensibilities. And, you know, if I've gotten older and, you know, for the way that my music listening ear works, this particular type of thing just no longer appeals to me if it ever did. And I hear that because I'm the same way, but I'm not making the mistake of assuming that Sexyy Red cares about art. If I'm going to make that assumption, then I'm also going to have to assume that about Ice Spice. And I damn sure know she don't care about art. You know, I'm going to have to make the same assumption about Young Miami. Then she don't care about art. So it's just about who it is that you're talking about and who you're dealing with. I do think the unfortunate thing is artistry has 100% taken a back seat to degenerate sounds being pumped and dumped to the masses by the music industry that's paying to put a particular kind of sound in front of people's faces forcefully. But that's a greater referendum on the ecosystem of the music industry and how that operates and how it prioritizes the sound of individuals like Sexyy Red, but that is completely independent of the prioritization of artistry. And if you care about that particular aspect of the conversation, you can't use Sexyy Red as your case study because she ain't thinking about art. She's just thinking about popping it wide open.
Yeah. And I can't believe I forgot over that. I skimmed over that in my initial thing. But yeah, I mean, she's an industry plant. So her job is to drive down the value of a particular type of women, and it's working. It's working. So I had to look this up, man, because that drove some interest here of what record label is she on. So she's a part of Gamma. I've never heard of these people. But they got people like Snoop Dogg, Rick Ross, Usher. I've never even heard of Gamma.
That's a record label?
Yeah.
It might be a subsidiary because that don't sound like a record label. But I
mean, you can. I don't know, but I'll just try looking it up. I put label, so it probably is some type of subsidiary. I didn't put record label, but yeah, it's some other thing. I've never heard of this thing, but this to me has a similar fingerprint on it of how they would roll out any other major artist to get the likes of Bruno Mars on a song and to make that attempt. They're really trying to drive this Sexyy Red thing home. They really tried to hit something out of the park with this. And the name of the song Hoochie Coochie. If it does what they anticipated it to do, for it to be a catchy saying and phrase, something that's memeable, other things like that, it's going to have its own version of replay value. And she's back on the streets again like a brown booty hole. You know what I'm saying? So she would strike again. So yeah, I don't care for how. So I wouldn't blame Sexyy Red for this. I would blame the label.
Of course, yeah.
I think this is all a part of the label manipulating the minds of its listeners. And if I was those people that they're trying to cross over to, I would be afraid of this. Because it's going to hit somebody over there. And now whoever was like, hey, who's this Sexyy Red lady? Or, hey, that's the brown booty hole girl. I didn't know she can make songs like this with Bruno Mars. And then now they fell on over to the Hoochie Coochie. So nobody wins in this scenario when there's people like Sexyy Red running around. So, these agents of chaos, as you like to say, these agents of chaos, they don't get a pass from me anymore. She is a willing participant in the debauchery. Some may say that she's not even smart enough to know that she is being used as a pawn. But I would say that even if she did know, she wouldn't care.
She would, yeah.
She doesn't care. She's like, bro, just pay me. You know what I'm saying? And so she's the perfect industry plant. You mentioned Ice Spice earlier. She's the perfect industry plant. I mean, you don't get no better than these people. You don't, because they are like, use me however. And they don't give a damn. It don't make no sense. Every time I'm sitting trying to look for a topic or whatever, I see Ice Spice on there for the dumbest of reasons. She's on there for no reason at all. Who's paying for this? Nobody cares about her, but these labels are making sure she's staying some type of algorithm. So it was that same thing that was going on when 6ix9ine was popping or whatever, if you want to call what he was doing popping. But you could not get that kid out of the algorithm. And he was everywhere. And it wasn't because of his music. It wasn't even really because of his shenanigans, even though he was doing a lot of it. It was just that it will be the smallest of things. Even now, while I'm sitting here trying to look for stuff, you'll still see him pop in the thing. Like, who gives a damn about this guy anymore? He wasn't the perfect one because he kind of crashed out. But he was such a cash cow, they got him out. So that's what they always do with these guys. You know what I'm saying? Even though people would say that NBA YoungBoy is not an industry plant, he's an industry plant in the sense that they gave this kid a platform. So he can be as talented as people would like to argue that he is. This kid's getting a platform because of the level of debauchery he can come out with. You know, as much as I used to like, young Kodak when he first came out, man, because I thought he was a talented young man, talking about wild stuff, but I still felt as though he was doing a good job capturing certain things and certain elements. But, whenever he would get into trouble, he'd be back on the streets again. And there's certain things that they do with certain cash cows. That the industry makes sure that these people are constantly recording and making music. And so Sexyy Red is no different. She's just a female version of it. So Joe Budden could be offended by the Bruno Mars crossover and then the next one. But I'm telling you, she's going to do this. She's going to continue to do this. This has nothing. They don't care if it flops. They're going to keep pumping it. And something's going to hit. Because these labels are more invested in my opinion, these labels are more invested in the further degradation of society than them making money. They'll make money in the process, but they're more invested in pumping out disgusting messages. So they're going to find whoever, promote whoever, who's going to keep doing the most debaucherous things. So, of course, she's got all of this stuff rolled out. I mean, look how much money that just from looking at those two videos, as ratchet as the second one was, there was a lot of money that went into that, relatively speaking, to how other hood videos are. And because there's money, they put money behind this. So, yeah, y'all. So I would just say, just be mindful of how these labels are trying to play you. And to dig into a little bit into the last topic, one of the reasons, one of the elements that is driving down our lack of morale is this type of music promoted by those labels that want to continue to make us consumers and box poppers, because as I mentioned before, if you're sexually out of control, then you're all the way out of control. So that's why Sexyy Red is here. Red is also the color of your base animal sexual nature. So that's why she's Sexyy Red. That's why she's out here promoting the red energy. Diddy, whenever he was having his Diddler get-offs, he said he wanted the room all red. He wanted the room all red because it's symbolic of that kind of energy. So that's why Sexyy Red is here. She's here to be an agent of destruction, an agent of chaos, and try to convince people to think and behave in a certain way. So for Joe Budden, as you mentioned, to assume or treat or talk to her like she's some type of artist is asinine, and it's comical in itself. So I would just say, look at these labels, and I will point my finger at them for trying to pull a fast one on its listeners.
Yeah, it is ludicrous, but he can't help himself. If you know anything about Joe Budden's musical history, I don't know how many Joe Budden fans there are out there, let alone how many Joe Budden fans who might be listening to this. He might be a gas bag now, but when he was a rapper, he was on that. I'm not trying to suggest that he was, so good or whatever. I'm not trying to state how great he was, but his approach to making music was like he was a rapper's rapper. He was on the lyrical stuff. He was on the bar stuff. So he might big up a lot of current music, but trust me, I don't think most current music appeals to his sensibilities. So when he speaks in this manner, he's doing it from the standpoint of his own sensibilities, which is approaching the music artfully. But art is not what is prioritized when it comes to this particular kind of music. It's about other things, other agendas, so to speak. So I think what he has to say in essence is okay, but I just don't think it's applicable because he's talking about an individual who doesn't care about, prioritize, even thinks about art. So maybe find a better messenger. Now, if you had somebody who was code switching, who did uphold themselves in an artistic way, it would make more sense. But I feel like it's wasted energy to have this kind of conversation talking about somebody like her. You know what I'm saying? Like, she don't care about art. So what are we doing here? Like, she's not an artist. She's just, I don't even know what you call her. To me, she's a hip hop star. That's what she is. And star only because of her popularity, not because she does anything particularly noteworthy other than promote debauchery. So it is what it is.
Hey man, have at it, y'all. So but hey, let us know down in the comment section, guys. Y'all agree with Joe Budden? You feel as though, as an artist, Sexyy Red is doing the game a disservice and trying to sell out, and then on the flip side of that, when that didn't work, she's have to make her ghetto classics for us Negroes. Do you agree with Joe? What are your thoughts, man?
Hey, look, man, I do know one thing. It's very hard to code switch when you have no code. So,
hey, well said, sir. Put that on the shirt. Yeah.
Next up, we got Angel Reese, another friend of the channel. Angel Reese is a friend of the channel, and Angel Reese is also clapping back at her naysayers, people who feel some type of way because she decided to have Chrisean Rock be one of the guests, an upcoming guest on her show. What is her show called? Unapologetically Angel.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what it's called, her podcast. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Angel Reese has her Unapologetically Angel podcast, and she has a message for people who don't like the fact that she's bringing Chrisean Rock. Chrisean Rock, who, how would you describe her? The volatile, loudmouth, ex of what's that dude's name? He's
Blueface.
another one of these Blueface. Yeah, he's another one of these clown caricatures of a human being. Yeah, Blueface. She's more known for her spats and just outlandish online behavior than anything else. I don't exactly know what it is that she does, but I do know who she is because of her very tumultuous relationship with Blueface. And she's now going to be a guest on Angel Reese's podcast. People are asking why you would have her on your podcast. And Angel Reese is like, hey, man, be quiet. If you don't like it, don't watch. It's my show. I'll do whatever I want. So this says STFU or don't watch. Angel Reese bluntly torches critics over backlash for Chrisean Rock podcast feature. Angel Reese was fed up with people criticizing the upcoming episode of her Unapologetically Angel show. The Chicago Sky star has Chrisean Rock as one of her next guests. She announced on her Instagram story. So there's the announcement there on her Instagram story. So that's that. So cool, I guess. The former LSU Tiger star took to X on Saturday to respond to whoever had an issue with Rock being her next guest. This my podcast, STFU or don't watch. Thank you. And STFU, for anyone who doesn't know, stands for shut the blank up, shut the bleep up.
Damn.
I don't know who wouldn't know that, but just in case there's anyone who doesn't know that.
There's some people out there don't know.
In her show, the former number 7 pick has sat down with plenty of high-profile personalities, both in the WNBA and showbiz. After a solid rookie season, she's set to take the Sky to new heights. Tyler Marsh took over as coach after Teresa Witherspoon was dismissed, bringing renewed expectations to the team. Reese is expected to leap after her workout videos made the rounds on social media. She was seen in the gym working on mid-range and long-range shot before playing in the inaugural season of Unrivaled. So there is Angel Reese opening up, unmuting to say, hey man, if you don't like the fact that I got Chrisean Rock on my show, be quiet or don't watch. It's my podcast. Do you agree with Angel Reese clapping back at the naysayers who don't like what she's doing here with her show?
I mean, she has it is her show, so she can say whatever she wants. You know, she can have them on whoever she wants. But you know, I'm in line with the internet and their criticism of the type of guests that she will have on. I've seen some clips out there where some lady was like, "Oh, you can invite anybody. You know, everybody knows who you are. You can have Tom Brady on there." I said, "That's a good idea." You know, you can have Allen Iverson on there. I said, that's a good idea. You know, but instead, Angel is inviting box rappers. That unhinged girl we just talked about. I don't even know that girl name, but she's inviting these scandalous bottom dwellers on her platform and giving them a voice to speak. You know, if she wants to talk to fellow WNBA players, I don't think people have a problem with that at all. I think the people are having an issue with these professional slurs and these unhinged women coming on there and speaking things as if it's gospel and facts, and them sitting there getting a good chuckle out of it and perpetuating the same type of dangerous rhetorics that got our community in the situation that it's in now. And I think people expected a lot out of Reese. There's a lot of Reese defenders out there. I was definitely one of them. You guys dig back in the videos. All right, when all of this stuff started to come around, I was definitely a Reese defender when it comes to her game. But when it comes to her off the court stuff, she's definitely falling into a bucket of somebody that she's a polarizing person. And for somebody like her who doesn't at least come off that way, to me, she doesn't. She has this polarizing way of doing business and carrying herself. So there's people that's either pro Reese or people that are just, you know, anti what she's about and what she's doing. And that spans across all communities. So me personally, I don't care for her off the court stuff. I feel as though the people that she is inviting to her platform is dangerous people. And I don't care for her giving them a mouth to speak and time to speak, because we don't need to know what they think, to be honest. And if you want to talk to these ladies, so be it. Talk to them on FaceTime, but don't upload it to YouTube. And I would also say that, you know, from the criticisms that's coming towards her, at least the ones that I saw, they were coming from women, Black women, and they don't want to see this. And to tie into the Obama situation, you know, they want to see a clean image. They want to see stuff that we can hang our hat on, and not things that we would tuck our tail in shame with. So yeah, man, I agree with the internet, you know, getting that angel. But of course, in typical angel fashion, you know, telling everybody to shut that up. You know, we're just haters. We just mad that we ain't got what she got. And we just mad because she living a life that we can't live. You know, she catching flights. She's on this, she's on that. You know, she make more money in endorsements than she does in her check. So her league check. So, you know, she got it, and we don't, apparently. So we can't tell Angel nothing. At this point, I don't think me saying hopefully she'll listen is a thing, because I think it's baked into her bread, and I think this is who she is. So I just tell everybody, man, just buckle up your seats, man, because I don't think she's coming off this persona anytime soon. But what are your thoughts, man, on Angel Reese catching criticism for the type of guest that she has on her show, and then her doubling down, telling everybody to just shut the F up or don't watch?
Yeah, this is who she is. I think that this is egg on everyone else's face. I think Angel Reese has been given more credit than she deserves.
Yeah.
And I don't say that to disrespect her. I don't know her. But coming out of college and entering into the WNBA, there were a sizable percentage. There was a sizable amount of people, both online and offline, speaking in casual conversation, who were looking forward to her career, because in her we had an example of a young Black woman in the limelight who can stand as a positive example for future generations and for her own generation. Like, she stood as the potential for being a good example. And I think all along the way, she has shown that she's not cut from that cloth. And listen, I'm not trying to bash her. I'm really trying to go at people who thought that she was someone whom she's not. You know, if you look at the way that, see, and it's tricky because, again, I'm not trying to criticize her per se, because she is who she is. I'm not trying to go at her for being who she is. The only time that I criticize people is when they claim to be something, but then they do something that is against what they say they are. And Angel Reese has never said, I'm this person to look up to or whatever. She never claimed to be that. She's just her. That's why, you know, her show is called Unapologetically Angel. She was propped up as this individual who could be this beacon of a good example for goodness, especially when it comes to, you know, women in our community. And I don't think she was ever built like that. You know, you see the way she dresses sometimes, you know, the wilding out stuff where she's wearing the booty shorts, or when she shows up to games and she's wearing the pants that are see-through and you see her ass because she's wearing a thong and sexy lingerie and all of that kind of stuff. Angel Reese is a new human. She's very much indoctrinated in new human ideology. She wants to just be popping and be popular and famous and make money. That's what she cares about. So putting her in a light that's something different than that, to me, is boo-boo the fool on you. You thought she was someone she's not. You know, I remember Charleston White. Everybody got mad at, well, more people got mad at Jeff Teague as if it's Jeff Teague's fault. Remember, Jeff Teague had Charleston White on his podcast, and Charleston White was like, I think Angel Reese is more interested in selling box than playing basketball. And people got mad at Jeff Teague as if Jeff Teague was the one who said that, when it was really Charleston White who said it. It was like, hey, listen, you can agree to disagree with Charleston White all you want, but she's the one showing up at events looking like one of these celebritantes with no clothes on, trying to leverage her body and her physical appearance for clout, money, attention currency, and all of that kind of stuff. It's the current cultural zeitgeist, but that is what she's doing. So he's merely calling a spade a spade. What are you getting mad at him for?
It's fair.
So she's just one of these people. She's in the wave. She's plugged in. Like Angel Reese took the blue pill. So like to have Chrisean Rock, who's more of a social media personality than actually doing anything tangible on her show, to me, that's in line with how Angel Reese looks at the world. You know, I'm surprised she ain't had Ayesha Howard on her show yet.
Oh, it's loading, bro.
That's how Angel, like I remember on an episode of her own show, I don't even remember who the guest was, but they got into talking about relationships. And Angel Reese was basically saying, you know, any guy who I'm with is going to have to be an NBA player. Who talks like that? Like, why does your guy have to be an NBA player? For what? What would cause you to believe? Like, what in the deep recesses of your mind has convinced you that your ideal man is an NBA player specifically? That's what she said. She talks like one of these chicks who believes that her place in the world is one of these highbrow women who is in a relationship with a highbrow guy. So it is completely within the scope of reason for her to have a Chrisean Rock on her show. Why not? Yeah, who's she gonna bring on there? The aforementioned Michelle Obama? You know, like
that's what streets want.
That's what that would be out of her character, in my opinion.
It would. She wouldn't even know what to say to that one.
Yeah, and to me, when I say out of her character, again, I'm not necessarily trying to be negative, but that is who she is.
Yeah.
You know, so it makes more sense for her to have city girls on her show: Ice Spice, Chrisean Rock, Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B. When those kind of women are on her show, I'm like, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because she fancies herself in the same light. I think she wants to be this provocateur, socialite, Kim Kardashian-like, famous person. I mingle in high social circles. I date rich and wealthy men in high-profile positions. I feel like that's how she sees herself.
Yeah.
So it is counterintuitive at that point to believe that she wouldn't have Chrisean Rock on her show.
Mm-hmm.
She probably would date a guy like Blueface if he wasn't incarcerated. so that's my whole thing is we need to learn how to properly rate these individuals. Stop celebrity hero worshiping these people. When they tell you who they are, believe them.
Hey, well said, bro. And you know, hindsight, man, because it was a lot of people coming to Angel's defense when Shaq was on a show, you know what I'm saying, being Shaq around her. You know what I'm saying what he was saying. And that's probably because he know Angel.
Yeah. That wasn't mad at him. Like people took issue with Shaq saying that. Like, why? He knows, bro. Shaq has been around the block enough.
I think so.
You know what I'm saying? He knows what an adjacent looks like.
Yes.
And it don't matter how old, it doesn't matter what the age of her. Like, people are taking issue with the fact that he's so much older than her. So it seemed like he was kind of robbing the cradle. But Shaq don't care about that. Shaq is just calling it how he sees it. Mm-hmm. Like, he's been around the block enough. He knows what an adjacent looks like and how an adjacent carries herself.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, there is no age restriction on this. These girls are coming up. These women are coming into the world fresh, 16, 17, 18 years old, knowing how to do this. And he knows it. He's seen it. So who are we to criticize him for calling that out? He knows what it looks like.
Yeah, and you know, that's a hindsight thing, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's the hindsight situation. Because when Shaq did it, I wasn't defending Angel for that. You know, I was more or less in line with Shaq when it came to, you know what I'm saying, wear those shorts, you know what I'm saying, to the game. And maybe more people will watch and all this other stuff. And, you know, the shorts that you was wearing on Wildin' Out. Shaq a fool, man. But yeah, man, people was, you know, trying to crucify Shaq for that. But I'm pretty sure some of those same people that was crucifying Shaq has seen some of her behavior since then and see that, hey, man, I think this is who she is. So, you know, me, I was personally, bro, I was really reserving and hoping that she would not be in this lane. But it looks as though that she is. And you know, it is what it is. It's not me doing hero worship. It's for the people that I know that do hero worship. I wanted her to not be like them, and she's being like them. And I can't. And it's and one part of it is like, that is what that is. You know, the other part of it is, as you mentioned, she's one of these new people who came up in this new world. And this is how they're taught, you know, just to be a baddie.
Exactly.
To be a baddie.
Yeah, that's a very succinct way to put it. Very good.
Yeah. And so she's not as concerned, and it's pretty clear now. So she's just a baddie who hoops. You know, it's not a thing where it's like, oh yeah, I'm not taking away her love for the game, because you know, I see her out there. She be in it when she's out there playing, but she also has this thing where she wants to be a baddie over a ball player, and I think that's the part that rubs some people the wrong way. But you know, it is what it is, man. Yeah, but well said, bro. I didn't want to put that jacket on her, but you know, she's constantly putting it on her damn self. You know what I'm saying? So at some point, you're just gonna have to call that out. So you know, it is what it is with her, man. But yeah, you're not, you know, she's gonna probably trying to turn it into her own version of you know, the female version of Club Shay Shay. You know, just where, you know, women come on to get messy, because you know, Shannon Sharp, he just bring people on to be messy now. I mean, yeah. I saw some of the headlines from the Damon Wayans thing. I was like, man, I don't even know if I want to watch that, bro. I don't know if I want to watch that, bro. These are wild ass headlines, but that's what Shay Shay do. You know, he's doing it for the click. So
yeah,
Angel, she's probably going to do the female version of that and have on Sexyy Red to tell us what color her booty hole is.
Yeah.
It's crazy, bro.
Yeah, I you know, I've always gotten the impression ever since Angel Reese first got into the W. To me, I've been on this with her. I feel like she wants to date the same guys that, you know, the Instagram models, you know, the Ayesha Howards, you know, these people like this, Brittany Renner before her alleged conversion. Angel Reese fancies herself dating the same men that those women date. She fancies herself operating in the same social circles as those women. She looks at herself in the same vein. I'm not, and this is independent of her commitment to basketball, because I think she's perfectly capable of compartmentalizing, being committed to basketball, but also, as you said, being a baddie.
Yeah.
And being a baddie is very much an intentional decision that a lot of new humans make. And I don't have a term, because there's a male equivalent to this as well. I don't know what the term for that is.
That guy.
Yeah. Whatever the male equivalent term for a baddie is, guys do this crap too.
Yeah.
And she fancies herself that kind of person. And you can say, oh, why y'all get going at Angel? Who cares? Why can't she wear her see-through outfits and be sexy? And why does there have to come with why does judgment have to be carried with that? Number one, because that's just the way it is. But also, number two, because I can easily juxtapose her behavior to other women in her same position, and they don't do it. So there's clearly a delineation. There's clearly a difference. And we are just defining and calling the difference out. That's it.
That's it.
I didn't create the difference. The difference exists because that's how it works. There's going to be a difference.
Exactly.
Not every WNBA player or every other high profile woman in Angel Reese's position is doing this, but
Correct.
she is. Therefore, she's going to be categorized the same as the women who do it.
Thank you. Well,
Period.
Period. And let me throw this on here too. And just like how when we talked about the Felicia Rashad situation, and you know, Felicia Rashad, at least for our generation, and I know there's people that's younger than us too, that just look at her and just treat her with respect and grace because of how she carries herself. But then when you carry yourself like Angel, then you get people like Charleston White talking like that.
Yeah.
And then other people talking like that about you because there's the way that the energy she's giving off. It's not even just her clothes. So if y'all want to, but the clothes is also a part of the energy she gives off. And the energy she gives off is one that doesn't respect herself. So it makes it easy for somebody for Charleston White to step into that space and disrespect her. But if Charleston White came out and disrespected Felicia Rashad, the internet for once would crucify Charleston White because she didn't even give him a lane to step in there like that. So Felicia Rashad carries herself in a vacuum sealed kind of space, but Angel has this wide open thing where you can come in at any angle, and it's because of the energy she gives off. So you can say, "Oh, it's everything, all the above." So yeah, man. Well said, bro. It's what she's doing, man, and the internet's gonna have fun with this, you know. So it is what it is, bro.
Yeah. Good luck to her. She don't give a damn anyway. She don't care. But it's just the way it is, man. She's put into the same bucket as those whom she behaves in a similar way to. I don't know what you want me to say. Like it is what it is. If you want to be in a different bucket, behave and move differently, and that doesn't have to take any of the air out of your sexy balloon, because there's so many women in the game who I find incredibly desirable, incredibly sexy, and they're not naked in public all the time. Not that Angel Reese is naked in public all the time, because she's not. But I'm just saying, I think that dress and like behavior kind of go hand in hand. And it's one of those situations where it's like I said before, when I was coming up, a lot of the women that I was into, they didn't necessarily, they carried themselves with grace, put it that way. And that didn't take away from how desirable I found them to be. So at the end of the day, there's a certain level of gratuitousness that one approaches their life when they conduct themselves in this manner. And when a person calls it out, it just is what it is. So you can get mad at it all you want, but it still exists all the same. And the only way that she's going to get it to change is if she changes her behavior. But she won't, because she is who she is. So it brings me back to my central point that people need to stop bracketing her in a bucket that she doesn't deserve to be, that she shouldn't be in. It's not about deserve, that she shouldn't be in because she's not built like that. And furthermore, if people really want Angel Reese to do something different when it comes to the guests on her show, don't watch the damn episodes, because I guarantee you, if those videos get 1K views, 2K views, if all of these salacious, scandalous people on these shows only garner 1K views and 2K views because no one is watching, I guarantee you she'll switch her tune up. I guarantee you she'll put different people on her show. But if y'all still gonna carry 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 views on these episodes, there's no incentive for her to stop. So what the hell are you complaining about?
I agree, bro. Yeah, so we'll see, man. We'll see, man. Hey, best of luck to this whole situation here. You know, I did not want to. I'm not a thrower under the bus, an Angel basher, but damn it, man. You know, this is a crazy situation, bro. Crazy.
Well, I personally don't call what you're doing bashing, so it depends on how you define bashing. This to me is not. I know others might call it that, this to me is not bashing. You know, calling a spade. You know, it is what it is, but it ain't bashing when it's the truth, as far as I'm concerned.
That's fair, bro. Red Pill is gonna say I'm over here simping or something, man. That's crazy.
more drama from these Usher shows, bro. So another incident at an Usher, not an incident, but a story coming out of Usher's recent performance in London involves a woman who went viral because she was the subject of one of Usher's cherry segments. For anybody who does not know, Usher likes to get interactive with the crowd at his live shows. He walks around looking for women to participate, and he does so by dangling cherries over their mouths and feeding these women cherries. And in the past, it has caused some controversy. There was the famous situation involving Keke Palmer and her now ex, who she shares a child with. There was a whole blow up because Keke Palmer was a willing participant during one of Usher's seductive segments, much to the chagrin of her now ex-boyfriend who didn't appreciate it. And, you know, there were probably cracks in the foundation of their relationship already, but because this shouldn't break people up, but it served as a catalyst for them eventually breaking up, probably because they were already going through problems. And now we have a continuation of this because there was a woman in London who was the subject of Usher's seduction segment, and this went crazy viral because people ran with the idea that her husband demanded a divorce because he didn't appreciate what happened. Come to find out, this woman is single. She's not even divorced. So now, not only do we have actual situations running amok when it comes to these, segments in Usher's performance, but now we got deep fake news. Now there's a fake news aspect of it going on where people are saying somebody who's not actually married is married just to sort of make noise when it comes to this Usher cherry feeding stuff. So this says woman denies false story of husband divorcing her after Usher concert encounter. I am single. Usher isn't the home wrecker the internet makes him out to be. Chicago woman Jimalita. Himalita. I don't know exactly how you pronounce that. Let's go with Jimalita. Jimalita Tillman found viral fame last week after a video of her sharing a steamy moment with Usher at his London concert blew up on social media. The video was first shared on TikTok and showed Tillman making intense eye contact with the singer-songwriter, who proceeded to dangle cherries over her mouth. She looked like she was ready to risk it all. And one viral tweet suggested that her husband filed for divorce after the clip circulated online. But she's not even married. In an interview on Chicago's WGN9, Tillman said she looked right in. She locked right in when he singled her out in the crowd. When he came around with those cherries, I said, well, life is a bowl of cherries. I'll take one, maybe two. She said, adding that some people online have referred to her as Auntie Cherry.
Hysterical.
He wasn't even supposed to stop where we were. It was like magnetic. And he smells like vacation, she continued. So let me scroll down to the general point here. When asked about the rumor the moment sparked a divorce, she immediately shot it down. That is completely false. I am single. I am a retired homeschool mom looking to expand the arts here and across the pond. I am single. You got a cherry, give me a jingle, she said. Tillman was asked if she had spoken to Usher since the viral moment, but said she hadn't. I don't want him to be uncomfortable or anybody in his camp to be uncomfortable. I am embracing the moment. The moment was beautiful, but when it comes to fan fiction or whatever that story is that's out there, I am single. I am so happy the way Chicago has been supporting me. So let's go to the interview portion of this news segment with her where she tries to clear the air.
Yeah, such a troll, bro.
So this is Jimalita Tillman. She runs the Harold Washington Cultural Center, leads their award-winning theater group. This video has been, I mean, it is blowing up. I mean, tens of millions of views. And she is here. I think we can't show the last bit of this. I don't know if we can show just how intense this got. But Jimalita, how you doing?
Wonderful. You cannot pay for this kind of exposure.
No.
30 million people.
That's crazy.
We're licking cherries.
Right.
Let's get into it.
Is that what we
more
were
than that.
saying?
Yes, let's get into it. It's a family
Do
show.
they not have a concession stand?
He brought them out. Like, Usher's a big Fosse fan. I'm a big Fosse fan. He once played Billy Flynn in Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm from Chicago.
Yeah.
I locked right in. When he came around with those cherries, I said, well, life is a bowl of cherries. I'll take one, maybe two. And I'm really excited. I'm embracing it. This whole moniker of Auntie Cherry. I'm just going to embrace it.
Yeah.
I'm a woman that's coming of age, and now I'm a retired homeschool mom. I was there while I was retired. Happened to catch the show while I was looking at other theaters for our theater festival we're looking to produce. The Harold Washington will be in London producing some shows. And I said, Usher's in town. Well, let me go check it out. Did not see this happening.
Did you? Were you in the front row? You never.
All right, that's you get the idea.
Damn,
She's-
that lady there.
She sounds like she's a news anchor herself.
Yeah, man. She was ready to go. She came in with jokes and everything loaded.
Right. I don't know what she means by coming. I'm coming of age. I don't.
Yeah,
Kinda look
your,
like
age,
she
your
got-
age already came. Like, what is she talking about?
Kind of look like she already came in age. Yeah. Yeah. So it is. It
Came
is
and win already. Damn it.
right. Yeah. Yeah. It is pronounced Jimalita.
Okay. Okay.
Oh my God. This is hilarious, man. Yeah, Jim Tillman is the global director of the nonprofit Harold Washington Cultural Center in Chicago. And she shared a post recapping her whirlwind work trip to London on Instagram last week. So yeah, there you have it, man. So what do you make of this? What do you make about some random internet troll job getting thrown out there that she's married when she actually isn't? And then just her overall reaction to the situation.
Well, let's just start here by saying, well, look, I would say that it makes sense that she's single, because when I heard the story, when I heard the story, man, they said the guy said that he's been with this woman for 20 years and she hasn't even kissed him in public yet. So when I first heard that, I was like, well, why are you with her? Why are you with a woman for 20 years that won't even kiss you in public? That wasn't your woman in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So once I heard it was not true, I was like, all right, well, whatever. But then we hear of a woman who is coming of age. She's not even married. And it's like, okay, well, that makes sense why she was at this situation acting like the jump off that she is. All right. Now, I'm pretty sure she's a cool person. Close quarters, you know what I'm saying? She seems to have a lot of jokes. All right. She seems to be a riot and a hoot. All right. But at the same time, man, she seemed to be somebody that's willing to bust it wide open. Because she was ready to go, man. I was trying to watch that clip, you know what I'm saying? And I just could not help but to cringe. I was cringing the whole time, man, because I was laughing at Usher of how hard he was trolling the situation. But then I was just cringing so much for her basically coming of age in her pants. why, you know what I'm saying? While she's standing up. And I'm like, well, I don't want to see this geriatric woman bust out her depends. I'm not in the mood for that. But meanwhile, Usher's trolling her. All right. And then once she did the cherry situation, I was like, yeah, this is a wild video, man.
Oh my God.
So yeah, man, I couldn't help but to get a good laugh out of this. I'm not surprised the story is false. It sounded a little outrageous to begin with. But yeah, man, Usher strikes again. And no, you can't leave your woman around him. No, you can't let her go to a show. And I'm telling you right now, I know for a fact there are married women who participate. All right. They don't always go viral, but yeah, man. So if you don't want to be on the receiving end of this as a man, I'm not saying don't let her go to the show, but she damn sure can't sit that close. But what are your thoughts, man, on Usher Raymond out here not destroying homes as everybody thought, and the woman actually is single all this time? What are your thoughts, man?
That was gonna be my first question. I was gonna ask you, would you let her go, but she can sit like towards the back or maybe in the middle, just not front row where he might catch you in that interaction?
You can go no front row, no meet and greet tickets. All right. She has to sit in the rafters in order for me to agree with that. Seriously, man.
Oh man, I wonder if she really thought in that moment, was there a chance that she might get it invited to the green room?
Hey man,
No.
she was locked in, like she said, bro.
Well,
Like,
I know she would have went. I know she would have went, but was there a moment where she was mistaken into believing that she actually had a shot to cash in on that groupie card?
I don't know if she was mistaken. I know she was definitely hopeful, and she was sending out those vibrations, hoping that he would catch it. I saw that nonverbal conversation happen. I did see that.
Yeah, I think she was ready to risk it all, but just not risking all. She had no one to risk it with, but nevertheless, she was willing to go all out. She was willing to risk anything other than that in order to, meet that end goal, if that's the case. Yeah, I mean, this is because, what's funny? We talk about generations changing over time. I would imagine, we're at the precipice of thoughting being an acceptable form of behavior. So I believe we're now at the apex of that. But just because we're at the top of the mountain, that means that there was a gradual climb up. And so when do you think the climb started? When do you think the beginning of thoughting as acceptable behavior began? Probably in the 90s at some point, somewhere around the 90s, maybe.
I would say somewhere in the 90s.
Yeah, because she's an older woman, right? She's a mature, handsome woman, So this shows you thoughting goes as far back as I would say probably the last 30 years or so. And now what we're starting to see is the oldest generation of thoughts, being 50 plus, being 45, 50 plus,
getting BBL'd up.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. So that's what's interesting to me is, and I'll bet they're, the older generation of thoughts, they're disappointed because when they were thoughting, it was still looked at with judgment. Whereas nowadays, thoughting is looked at as carefree, go ahead and thought. It's aggressively mainstream acceptable behavior. Almost like if you're not thoughting, you're not doing it right. You mean you're not thoughting? What, are you crazy? You don't know the bag you can get into by starting this OnlyFans? So now that thoughting has become acceptable and cool, there's no shame in it. So people are doing it all out in the open. But her generation is the old guard. They started this thing. And now we're starting to see the crusty, older generations of women with the groupie tendencies wanting to get on the tour bus. And now that it's so mainstream and acceptable, they want to cash in on it, even though they're older. And it's gross. It's gross. It's gross when the younger women do it. So it's even more gross when the older women do it. And of course, I don't know her, so I'm not going to speculate as to why she is single/unmarried. But one can surmise that there is a correlation between her locking in with Usher for cherries and being single/unmarried. So take that for what you will. But yeah, we're going to start seeing the 60, 70-year-old thoughts. We're going to start seeing this stuff, bro. Wow. I can remember, my dad, he was born in the 50s. He used to tell me about how, he'd go to funk shows, when, because he came up in the funk era. disco and all of that. So he was big on Earth, Wind and Fire and the Gap Band and the Isley Brothers and the Isley Brothers and all of that. And so he'd be talking to me about how, you know, you had the Thoughts in his day.
Of course.
And you know, they were pushing it 50, 60 plus, still trying to get into the green room. There's no limit to this stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And those chicks were willing to risk it all. So if they were willing to risk it all in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, imagine how much they're willing to risk it all now that no one is going to chastise you for being this way, because it's cool now to be willing to risk it all for your moment of thought glory. So, you know, we'll see how it plays out. But this is the continuation of this ongoing saga. Probably started in the 90s, but it'll continue. I believe we're at the peak. I don't think we're going to start the descent for a long time, though. I think we're going to be on the peak of it for a while. And maybe, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years from now, we'll begin the descent. But by that time, we're going to have thotties who are well into their 70s and 80s, probably thotting it up. All single and unmarried in all their glory and happy and proud about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree, bro. I think that even for old school shonen, you know what I'm saying, that was going on back in the in the 60s and 70s, I feel as though, like many things, because all of this stuff, I mean, of course, there's nothing new under the sun. So a lot of stuff that's been going on now has been going on in the past. But I think nowadays, of course, like everything else, it's just a lot more, accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's different now because of the normalization of the behavior.
The normalization,
that's the element that makes it different.
Yeah, I agree. But also I agree, because the lack of shame that comes with having bodies has changed since we were in elementary school.
Yeah.
And so we've seen the evolution of having bodies to a thing of man, it was probably like, I don't know, I was probably like 20 years old. By then I was like, I don't think I should ask. I don't think me asking is a good thing to do right now. You know what I'm saying? I was only 20, bro. You know what I'm saying? And so from there, it was just a situation of, I don't think that information is important, because I'm going to hear something I don't want to hear, or I'm going to hear a lot, which I don't want to hear. You know what I'm saying? Oh, only 2 people before you. Man, damn it. I know I shouldn't have asked it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. So yeah, it was still some level of decorum. Even though they were lying, it was still a shame. But now, man, like as you mentioned, bro, there's a lack of shame that goes along with being liberated, sexually liberated. So yeah, man, we're gonna see a very interesting time. We're already seeing it now. The grandmas on Facebook is popping it wide open. It is crazy on Facebook, bro. All right, so Facebook is the granny TikTok, and they are just clapping it up out there. So y'all be safe out here in this new world. And I agree, man. When we're in our, 50s and 60s, bro, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised at all. Our cohort.
You have to imagine that we're just going to age with this stuff.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So like, if you think like all of the women now who contribute to the world via leveraging sex in whatever capacity. So whether you're doing outright sex work, or whether you're a model, whether you post gym pics, you post a lot of pics on Instagram. Whenever you go to the beach, you got to post 1,000 pics showing off how good you look in your bathing suit. Instagram modeling, all of these various ways that women leverage themselves physically for online attention that they then attempt to parlay into actual currency. Mm-hmm. So that's what has transpired thus far. And we're just going to continue to age with that. So the women who are doing that now are going to keep doing it as they get older. It's not like they're going to outgrow it. It's going to continue because it's baked into the bread of human behavior. So it's not going anywhere. It's only going. So it's going to be fit. We don't see it yet because our generation is really the first generation that started it. Really, it's the millennials that started it. Instagram came out in 2011, right? So our generation is the first generation that figured out how to proliferate this dynamic to the degree that it currently is. Future generations have picked up the torch, but we really started it. Like my older brother, Gen Xers, they're not really there. There's a facet of it that tries to sort of reverse engineer the process and get into the game. But by and large, they're the last group of people who are more traditional thinking. We are the first generation that's out of our minds for the most.
I agree with 100%.
Yeah, for the most part, we're the first generation that's truly out of our minds. So as we continue to age with this stuff, it's just going to be us in our 50s and 60s, and there's going to be the 50 and 60-year-old Insta thoughts and OnlyFans models and
on singles cruises.
Yeah, for real. And they're going to be 50 and 60 still trying to chase a bag behind an old entertainer. Or if they think they're still bad enough, maybe they'll try to cash in with a younger one. Who knows?
Hey,
but there's going to be some older rappers and older hip hop people and retired NBA players and NFL players, guys in their 50s and 60s. And there's going to be the 50, 60-year-old thotties trying to get hip to the bag. For real, like we're gonna age with this stuff, bro. It's gonna be very fascinating to watch.
Yes,
and these are gonna be, and they're gonna be on the same wavelength. I firmly believe that they're not gonna outgrow it, is what I'm saying. So they're gonna be 50 and 60, still trying to get into the green room, still trying to get onto the tour bus, still trying to get the selfie, still trying to have a rapper slide into their DMs. It just might be an older rapper, maybe a 40 or 50-year-old rapper, maybe instead of trying to get a baby from Lil Baby, they're going to try and get a baby from Nas or something like this. but it's gonna be happening. There's going to be a gradual evolution of this over time. We are going to see this stuff continue to age with us, but it isn't going anywhere.
Man, they're going to have like, man, it's going to be like STIs going on in senior citizen homes, bro. Like shingles going to go through the roof, bro. Like, like everybody going to have shingles. Oh, hey man, y'all be safe out here, man. We getting old too, bro. We getting old too, man. So, but at the same time, as we, to bring things full circle, bro, people want family too, man. And ain't nothing cool about being out here in these streets. I can only imagine how wild it'll be being in the streets when you're in your 50s and 60s, man. So, you know what I'm saying? Lock in and try to get you something solid.
Yeah. Well, it's just at the end of the day, man, no matter how debaucherous and degenerate we become, it's like I said before, even the streetest dudes of the streetest dudes of the street dudes don't really want to consider having a main chick who's for sale. Like intrinsically, we just don't desire that. Just like women who are the biggest thoughts of them all. Bro, you will have some of these chicks, bro. I have seen some of the craziest videos looking for content, right? I have seen some of the wildest stuff. Chicks who do corn. They're the biggest thoughts in the world. They're known industry chicks. They will still with a straight face hop on a podcast and talk about how they don't want a guy who cheats on them.
Yeah,
and they'll still get on these platforms talking about how they want monogamy and commitment and what. So I'm saying the insanity is running rampant.
It is,
and it's so rampant. It's so rampant. Yet we are still at a point where people still intrinsically pay lip service to the things that make us who we are. The biggest thoughts of them all still want family and commitment. And the biggest street dudes who are out here in the streets still want a chick who's for them and not for sale for another guy who might be an upgrade for them. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Yet despite us internally feeling the yearning for these things, we're still doing we're still doing the street stuff because it's what's been sold to us. So we're just going to continue to age with it over time. We're going to continue to age with it. It is going to be so hilarious, bruh. It is going to be so hilarious when Usher is like 60.
Oh yeah, bro.
And Usher's like 65 years old, and he's the house performer on a 7-day cruise.
Yeah,
and he's gonna have these 60, 70-year-old chicks ready to risk it all.
Yes,
because they were ready to risk it all when they were 25, 30, so they still gonna be ready to risk it all at 70.
Hey man, that's crazy. But yeah, he will be the person on the singles cruise. He'll be performing. Omarion will be out there performing. All right, they'll be out there just gyrating themselves, and then you know what I'm saying, the dance floor is gonna be, you know, scuffed up from walkers and orthopedic shoes. So hey man, that would be a hell of a day to be alive, man, when we finally get our own version of a Tom Joyner cruise. Oh, that's crazy, man.
Hey, man, shouts out to Usher, bro. Keep doing your thing, man.
Yeah, bro. Just wrecking homes, bro. Golly.
Yeah, and shouts out to Dudley on the chat, man. As always, Dudley said she definitely got down at Freaknik in the 90s.
She did. She was out there, bro. Somebody got her on VHS. Somebody got her on VHS, bro. Jeez.
Oh man. And last but not least, we are going to get into a back and forth involving two non-hip hop personalities. These are two guys who are in no way, shape, or form actually involved in hip hop, but have somehow been able to make a lot of money off of hip hop. Go figure. One being DJ Vlad, DJ Invalid, but one being DJ Vlad and the other being Peter Rosenberg. And you know, these two don't like each other. They're beefing, probably because they both occupy the same sort of space.
Exactly.
And Vlad is saying, "Hey, man, for anybody who is looking up to Peter Rosenberg, you know, this guy has no career. He's a bum. He sucks, and he's a nobody. So take that for what it's worth." And, you know, Rosenberg is like, "Oh, man, I'm actually doing pretty well. So shouts out to you. Good luck, but I'm going to keep it moving." So this says Peter Rosenberg responds to jab from DJ Vlad. "Stuff is going well, man." DJ Vlad and Peter Rosenberg are taking jabs at each other online. On Thursday morning, Vlad took to X to diss Rosenberg in a long message where he called the venerated radio host broke, irrelevant, and a hater. "For all the up-and-coming hip-hop media outlets, look at Peter Rosenberg for what not to do," Vlad wrote. "Same dead-end, low-paying radio job for 20 years, never got a promotion. In fact, he got demoted when Ebro took the main position on the Hot 97 morning show, spent 18 years uploading to his YouTube channel to only have 50,000 followers. Most of the videos he drops get less than 1K views. Hated on every new media person who came in the game, formed no relationship with any of us, will ultimately retire broke and bitter." Wow. So that's Vlad taking a lot of shots at Rosenberg. It took a couple of hours for Peter to catch wind of Vlad's remarks. "Oh, snap. Someone just sent this to me during commercial at First Take," which is a flex, Rosenberg wrote, referring to Stephen A. Smith's show for which he provides commentary. Glad you're exploiting people on YouTube. Stuff is going well, man." If you glance at Rosenberg's X bio, it's clear his career has surpassed just being a Hot 97 host, and that his work involves both music and sports now. One-time WWE 24/7 champion, Hot 97 every morning, ESPN 98.7 FM every afternoon, WWE, Cheap Heat, I don't know what Cheap Heat is, one episode real late, his bio says. According to YouTube creator Poetic Flacco, it appears that Vlad and Rosenberg have been beefing since at least 2010. In a video about the feud, Poetic Flacco shares a screenshot of a tweet dating back to 2010, which shows Rosenberg saying DJ Vlad used to be a mixtape DJ. He is now the Garbage Pail Kid version of World Star Hip Hop. Congrats. So these are two guys who occupy a particular space within hip hop culture, going at one another for supremacy in that particular space. What do you think of these clowns going back and forth with one another?
I mean, honestly, that's a good way of putting it. It's two clowns. That's how I see it. And yeah, I believe that their beef is stemming from them occupying the same space. I'm surprised Adam 22 isn't in here mudslinging with these guys.
Well, he's busy crying on the internet about how his show is going broke, apparently.
Yeah, allegedly. You know, that's another topic, but yeah, that fool there, man. But yeah, man, these guys here just yeah, Rosenberg represents the old guard. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. He's the old guard of what Vlad is. Vlad is more of the well, he was the more contemporary one until Adam 22 came around, who just, you know, each one of these guys are up in the ante. Rosenberg would play the game in the sense that he is hip hop. You know, he studies hip hop. He honors it. He respects it. He upholds it. So he played that whole game with it, but it was still in the sense of everything that was being played and promoted on that channel. I've seen some of his interviews when he's talking to people. It's not always the high level, high moral integrity thing that he likes to parade himself around as. I looked at him as an agent of the people who were promoting foolishness, but it was old school foolishness within the rap game. I'm pretty sure if there was some interview that people can pull up whenever there was a Ja Rule beef or a 50 Cent beef or something like that going on, he was out there adding to the fodder. You know what I'm saying? Being an instigator of some sorts, I'm sure, because that's how the radio industry operated. Then when the internet came around, DJ Invalid, I like that. Came around with the corn way of treating these artists, in a sense that you know, he would pay them little to no money for the interview, and then the people would, you know, jump on that $4,000, $5,000, but he'll turn around and, you know, make money in perpetuity off YouTube, you know, dividing their videos into 40 something parts.
Yeah.
And then so he'll sit there and get the check. Then when they get in trouble 5 years later, 6 years later, 10 years later, here he goes with a flashback clip of them incriminating themselves or them saying something crazy that he doesn't care. This guy, he definitely took exploitation to the next level. But then, of course, I don't think anybody can top what the hell Adam 22 just did, because that was taking exploitation to the next power. That was insane. All right. But be that as it may, I think, again, like you said, just to touch on things, that, yeah, their beef is pretty much coming from a situation of one guy impeding on another guy's space. So if it started back in 2010 when Rosenberg had a problem with it, all right, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was his problem, that this new guy is coming in and gaining more steam than him. And Vlad had a good little run until I think his MO became well known.
Yeah.
And now he has the same type of people coming to his show now. Or the same people.
Literally. Yeah, I was gonna say the same people. I feel like I see. It seems like Tony Yayo is on Vlad TV every other month. I feel like
Tony Yayo. It's Boosie. You know, Boosie's gonna come get that check. And one hand, I'm kind of not mad at Boosie for coming in to get that check, because I know it's a decent check, you know, that he's coming to get. But he'll come in there and just do his Vlad thing, you know. But yeah, the up and coming guys, he was getting some of those snot-nosed knuckleheads to incriminate themselves too now. But I think that nowadays, I think the jury is out on Vlad, hopefully. all right, that hey man, you don't go on there, especially if you live a particular lifestyle. So, but yeah, Vlad had a good run, man, and I think that his reign is coming to an end. That's why he's been bitter himself over the last few years, getting into internet beefs with anybody, or jumping into other people's business that he has no business jumping into, because he's not the same guy anymore. He doesn't have the same virility that he used to have whenever he dropped the video, and I'm happy about that, to be honest. Yeah. But what are your thoughts on Rosenberg and DJ Vlad, if you want to call him a DJ, getting into online beefs and apparently lasting for over a decade? What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I'm looking at, bro, Vlad did a video, he did an interview with Stevie J, and he somehow managed to cut that up into 32 different segments.
And it was a 28-minute interview too.
Right. How the heck? Like, bro, this guy is such a loan shark. Like, he's such a shisty loan shark, bro. I have a bigger issue with Vlad than Rosenberg.
100.
Yeah, I think Vlad is far more exploitative.
Yes.
Bringing on these individuals who represent what is the biggest problem with this genre in the first place.
I agree.
Like, the things that I rail about when it comes to the popularization of a particular sound, he exacerbates that by providing that exact sound with the biggest platform on his own show.
Yes.
And I can't stand it. It sickens me to my stomach that people would even bother subscribing to his crap. But I'm also not surprised, because people just have a insatiable desire for messiness, an insatiable desire for chaos, an insatiable desire for death and destruction. And if he can be the biggest merchant of death of them all, people are going to gravitate towards his channel. And he has been able to profit off of that for a very long time, and it disgusts me. My only issue with Rosenberg, I do put them in the same. So just to back up, I agree with you. I think the reason why they both don't like each other, I think the crux of it is they occupy the same space, which is not being a part of actively making the music, but still being able to profit off of the music, while also looking like someone who does not represent the majority of the people who practice within the music.
Agreed.
They both occupy that unique air, and so there's going to be some friction there because of the competition. That's why I think that they beef. My issue with Rosenberg is going all the way back to the Hot 97 days. Like, I've been knowing about Rosenberg since we was in high school. And back then, I used to be like, why is it that this guy seems to always have the most to say when we're talking about 50 Cent versus Ja Rule, or Jay-Z Nas, the Jay-Z Nas beef, or Benzino versus Eminem? That's when these shows all of a sudden have all the content in the world when we're talking about beefing and something negative.
Correct.
But there's no equivocation to that energy being provided to uplift the stuff that carries the music in a more positive light. That's when the imbalance to me started. And again, I never had an issue. If you want to get into the beef, if you want to get into the sewage, talking about the beef and the messy stuff, then just provide the same amount of airtime and currency and attention to the good stuff. Provide a balancing act. And it always seemed like those platforms provided more airtime and attention to the messy stuff, as if it suggests that it's the messy stuff that truly forms the fabric of what makes this music so good. And I always resented that insinuation. I always had a big problem with that. And Rosenberg, the reason why I used to roll my eyes at him, and you know how I often talk about how hip-hop journalism is dead? You know what I'm saying? You can't find anybody who's willing to be critical. I feel like the only person who's kind of in that area, who's not afraid to say something is trash, is, oddly enough, Joe Budden. I can't think of anybody else who talks about hip-hop music who I feel is willing to go on the record saying, I don't think this is good. Everybody else is always pandering to this garbage. And that started with Rosenberg's generation.
Yes, it
did. That started with the classic radio format. Hot 97, whatever the station is that does the Breakfast Club. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Power
105. There you go. That's what it is. These radio stations, you want to get these interviews with these artists, so you'll never be critical of bad art. You'll never be critical of bad music. And Rosenberg was always the one up there talking about how good the trash is.
How dope.
It used to annoy the crap out of me. Because that's part of why we're in this mess in the first place, where we're dealing with this trash music and everybody thinking that that's the only option they got.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I can't stand him as much as he upholds the old guard of hip hop and he cares about preserving what the foundation of hip hop is meant to stand for. He spent the majority of his career as a media personality bigging up bad music.
Exactly.
So my whole thing is, you want to be this staple for what hip hop is supposed to stand for. I heard you over and over again talking about how good bad shit is.
Yep.
So what good did that do us?
Right.
So all the way around, I feel like these guys need to just do a show together because they belong with one another.
Well, I don't see why not.
And and to your point, if they want to get Adam 22 to be like the Jess Hilarious of their show. They need to just go. They need to form a hip hop clown fiesta triumvirate.
Yes.
Where it is the three of them engaging in their court gesturing shenanigans.
Yes.
Because they belong with one another.
And that way I can ignore one piece of content and get them all out of the way. Oh, these bastards. I can't stand either one of these guys. And I had a disdain for Rosenberg before I had a disdain for Vlad. For Vlad interviews, it was at some point a point where I was like, all right, even though this is part 21, I still sat there and I watched it. It was a point where I was doing that. But then once I caught hip to what he was doing, every question he would ask, every artist that would come on, I'm like, why are you asking him that? You know what I'm saying? Why are you asking them that? Or why you seem to be so hung up on this part of our, whatever. Or, somebody's coming on it because they got a new album or a new mixtape and you ask them about a beef that happened 5 years ago.
Yeah, a gunshot incident or a stab.
Yeah. And I'm like, why are you bringing this up? I personally just got tired of that. So he was like the only person, like at the time, at least, interviewing these people. So that's why I would watch it. But then, at some point I was like, I just can't do this anymore. Oh, and by the way, bro, and it's not funny, you know what I'm saying? But if you want to get a good laugh, it's kind of morbid. Watch some AR interviews, bro, where he's self-snitching. Just put in AR self-snitching. It's compilations that come up. He says the wildest stuff on camera. I cannot believe it, bro. It is the craziest thing. And I used to listen to AR too, bro. That was back when I was, whatever.
Yeah.
But he says the wildest stuff, man. But yeah, man. I say hopefully these young people, especially after the latest thing with Adam 22 came about, hopefully people are aware of the Rosenbergs, the Vlads, and 22s in the game, or just in your life, man. And there's no need to be around these people that are trying to exploit you. So I guess they're battling for who's going to be top exploiter. So, which is crazy as that sounds, man.
You wonder, how did they get there? That's the crazy part. Like, what is their journey? Like, who kept them into their position? Because they were definitely ushered in. They didn't have to fight through anything. They must have known people and formed relationships, and people gave them keys to open doors. Because otherwise, I don't know how they earned their way into having those positions that they have.
What's their talent?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, that is true. If the three of them can get together, I can just avoid one piece of content instead of three.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
I don't care how many parts they want to upload either.
Yeah, that would be very, very ideal. And Rosenberg, I'll be seeing him on First Take sometimes. So I guess he's now getting that mainstream money. But yeah, he's been on the radio show on ESPN too. So I guess now he's venturing into sports, which is fine because sports to me is more of an all-inclusive type situation. I don't know. Rap and hip hop and just black culture in general to me is very insular for good reasons. And so it just makes individuals like him, it kind of is very pronounced when they come in and do their thing. And it's always rubbed me the wrong way.
Especially if they do it in a particular way.
Yeah, it's the way that they go about doing it.
Right, because there's people in the game that, you know what I'm saying, and they're not of the culture, but they're of the culture.
Right.
And anybody got a problem of them.
Yeah.
But Rosenberg been had a beef in the streets, at least with me, and of course Vlad. So yeah, it's all about how you come to the cookout.
Yeah.
If you get invited to the cookout and you doing an electric slide with everybody else, it's all good. But if you sit there and you clapping and slapping your knee and recording and do that again, what you mean do that again?
Yeah, that's very good point, man. Yeah, never been a fan of that particular kind of content, but it is what it is. So again, and I'll take it back to what I said about Angel Reese and people who complain about her guests. If you really don't like it, don't watch them. Because if the views go down and the subs start disappearing, it won't get played on the algorithm. They won't be able to make their money, and they'll have to figure something else out. But when that does not happen, I'm inclined to believe, despite how much people complain about these individuals, that there's far more people who actually want it and love it. So
that's true, bro. At some point, Angel Reese is only going to have Tony Yayo on her show because that's the only person that's willing to do it.
Yeah. It is what it is, man. It's whatever with their beefs. They both should just retire.
Agreed, 1,000.
But that, ladies and gentlemen, is it. We are done. It is over. Another fantastic edition of the Conscious Approach channel in the books. My name is JV Wins. That is Dogon SS. As always, check me out Instagram at JV Wins, JVWINS. Conscious Approach is on Instagram at Con Approach, CONAPPROACH. If you're checking us out for the first time, this is how we rock. This is how we roll. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. As long as it is constructive, we don't have to agree. Let us know your thoughts when it comes to the commentary in this or any other video. We do engage, and we certainly appreciate the support. Again, check us out on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. If you can't watch the videos, if you're at work and the boss is hovering over your desk, making sure that you ain't watching no videos, put the headphones in and listen to us on Spotify. We're also there as well. As I always like to say, have a mind of your own. Think for yourself. Don't be a group thinker. That is what we stand for over here on this side. And until the next time, people, because we will be back, stay solid and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Yeah. And the name is Dogon SS. And you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS, on YouTube, DraftKings, MySpace, Facebook. Hey, if it's a social media platform, Dogon SS out there. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, doing all that follow stuff. All right, greatly appreciated as always. All right, and as I say on every pod, guys, all right, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it plug. And don't let anybody get you off your pivot. So until the next time, everybody, thank you for liking and subscribing and consciously leaving those comments. We see y'all out there. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Marcus Dudley and all that good stuff from there. All right. And as I say every time, guys, more rings than Robert Ory. We'll catch y'all in the next episode.
That's right. So until next time, folks, we thank you. We appreciate you. We love the support. We shall return. But until then, check out our video uploads and we'll see you later. Peace.
Go Heat. We ready this time, boy. We done turned it up.